Good afternoon. Opening today's meeting of the Santa Rosa City School Board, Wednesday, December 14th, 2022. At this time, I will take public comment on closed session agenda items. Are there members of the public who wish to speak on closed session items? Seeing nobody in house.
If there are members of the public joining us on Zoom and would like to comment on the closed session agenda, please raise your hand at this time. President Sheffield, there are no hands raised.
Thank you. Recess to closed session. Your patient. Good evening. Thank you all for attending today's meeting of the Santa Rosa City School Board. Opening this meeting Wednesday, December 14th, 2022. And we will start our meeting with a territorial land acknowledgement. Leading us in our acknowledgement is Lisa Caven, Associate Superintendent of Business Services. Welcome, Lisa. Oh, let's get the mic. It's a little tricky.
Thank you for the opportunity to read the land acknowledgement this evening. I acknowledge that Santa Rosa City Schools is on the traditional territory and homelands of the Pomo people, traditional territory and homelands of the Coast Miwok people, and honor with gratitude the land itself and the people who have stewarded it throughout the generations. This land acknowledgement calls us to commit to continuing to learn how to be better stewards of the land we inhabit. By offering this land acknowledgement, we affirm Indigenous sovereignty and will work to hold Santa Rosa City Schools more accountable to the needs of American Indian and Indigenous peoples.
Thank you, Associate Superintendent. All in attendance, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everyone. We have a full agenda tonight, but before we get started, I wanted to ground us in the transition that we're going to make tonight. We have the departure of one of our own, Trustee McCormick, and the swearing in of a new member to our team, Roxanne McNally. We are also going to conduct the annual organization of the board and elect new officers. This is all part of the cycle of public service. Changes do happen. This is also the last board meeting of the year. We're headed into the holidays. It's maybe a busy time for some. Maybe it's a time to get some much needed rest for others. All the best with that. But the cycle of nature does not stop. Winter is coming. Outside, it's cold. The days are getting shorter as we approach the winter solstice, which is exactly 1 week from today. Daylight has been slowly shining into the dark, but it will emerge again soon enough to give new life and energy for the transformation of the new year. So tonight, in anticipation for the next week's solstice, let's embrace transition and the changes to come. For those following along, we are on agenda item C3, report of actions taken in closed session. The board voted unanimous, the board voted unanimous on student readmission case number 2022-2206. The board voted unanimous on student readmission case number 2021-2209. The board voted unanimously with one abstention on expulsion case number 22-2305. The board voted unanimous on stipulated expulsion case number 22-2306, one abstention. The board voted unanimous on student expulsion, stipulated expulsion case number 22-2308. The board voted unanimous on stipulated expulsion case number 22-2309. The board also voted unanimous on OAH case number 2022-08-0513. And the board voted unanimous on case student ID number 357587. A little bit of the business we do in closed session. Agenda item C4, items considered in closed session for action in open session, none to report. C5, statement of abstentions. Are there statements of abstention tonight? Seeing none. C6, adjustments to the agenda. Board, superintendent, any adjustments for the agenda? Okay, I'll go to the public. Public adjustments to the agenda on F items or consent items only. We do not have blue cards on the consent items, but do we have folks joining us remotely?
If there are members of the public joining us on Zoom and would like to comment on the consent agenda of the item, please raise your hand at this time. We have Libera Quintero. Would you like to comment on our consent agenda? If so, could you please tell us which item? This is for the consent agenda. Are you there? Can you unmute and let us know which item you'd like to speak on? Okay, President Sheffield will move to the next person. Mira Donahue, if you would like to please let us know which item you'd like to speak on for the consent agenda.
I'm having difficulty pulling up the agenda on the same screen. And it may have been an E item, but I think it was an E item actually, the discussion about uniform complaint procedures.
Yes, we'll call for public comment during the.
Okay, sorry about that.
That's okay.
Thank you.
President Sheffield, there are no other hands raised.
Thank you. And we will return back to the consent items when we get further on in the agenda. Okay, we are on agenda item C7, special presentations for Student of the Month and Certificated Classified Employees of the Month. Tonight, we are recognizing students and staff from James Monroe and Maria Carrillo High School. Tonight, we have students and families and school staff joining us for a special presentation of Students of the Month and Certificated Classified Employees of the Month. The presentations this evening will honor our students for their academics, their character, and their praiseworthy accomplishments. And we will also be honoring our certificated and classified employees for their outstanding dedication and service. Joining us for these presentations, we have Principal Strahl from James Monroe Elementary and Principal Luke from Maria Carrillo High School. We'll start with James Monroe.
You ready?
Good evening.
Welcome.
Thank you for having us tonight. I have my friend Valentina Campos. I am Catherine Storrell, principal at Monroe. We are so honored to get to be here. So it is my distinct pleasure to present Valentina Campos Chavez as our Santa Rosa City Schools Student of the Month for Monroe Elementary School. Valentina has been a student at Monroe since she was in kindergarten, and she is now in 6th grade. Valentina's 6th grade teacher shared that she has so many strengths that make her a leader here at Monroe. She comes to school every day prepared to learn. She eagerly volunteers to read and share ideas aloud in class. She is always engaged, asks great questions, and makes astute observations. Valentina is both a great group leader as well as participant. She consistently performs at a high level in all subject areas and puts extra effort into her project work. As an example of this, she invented a utopia this year called Blossoms Bay. Students were asked to create a model of their ideal world, a single model, but Valentina created two models. She did both a trifold poster and a clay model, which is definitely above and beyond. She enjoys volleyball. She has also been a member of our Monroe girls basketball team, and I hope she tries out again this year. She likes to draw, make bracelets, make clay sculptures. In addition to those qualities that we've already shared, Valentina is a really good friend to all of her classmates. I asked her fifth grade teacher about her, and she shared that Valentina is an idea generator and an enthusiastic learner. She thinks deeply about literature and can hold real discussions about themes and character progression. As a writer, she is able to express herself clearly and engage her readers in her storytelling. Aside from being academically excellent, Valentina is very involved on campus and has served on the student council for many years. She has opinions of how the world could look, and she expresses those ideas to those around her. The teacher also said she can't wait to live in the worlds that Valentina has thought up. She is fierce. She is so deserving of this award. Her fourth grade teacher had her for distance learning, and she shared that she still has fond memories of working with Valentina. They both stayed in a distance format when the rest of the students returned to a hybrid format. And at that time, students from 10 different classrooms across 6 different San Jose City School elementary schools were put into a single virtual classroom. Many of those students felt nervous, but Valentina immediately extended a hand of friendship. She welcomed her new classmates and invited them to join in our Monroe virtual recess, and the students played games together. So Valentina genuinely represented that inclusive culture of Monroe. When asked what she wants to do as an adult, Valentina shared she would like to be an actor or a singer. When asked about the contribution she wants to have, she shared that she wants people to laugh and feel deeply connected to what she does. I trust that we will. Congratulations, Valentina. You are truly deserving of this award. We are so proud to honor you tonight.
An idea generator, student council officer, and an actor. Congratulations, Valentina.
You don't have to be an actor. Okay, oh, yeah, okay. All right. We also have the honor of having Sandy Rojas here, who is our classified employee of the month for San Jose City Schools. But at Monroe, she is our classified employee of the year. We will be bringing you a crown to school, I promise. Ms. Rojas is an instructional materials technician and has been a valued member of Monroe for the past 4 years. Ms. Rojas has been described as an amazing behind-the-scenes woman. Monroe staff feel that they can always rely on her and that she makes sure to take care of the team. Mrs. Rojas is considered a resource at Monroe and beyond, and is often relied upon by other IMTs and technology professionals throughout the district. Mrs. Rojas is so helpful and works tirelessly in her many tasks related to managing all of the instructional materials at Monroe. She regularly goes above and beyond to provide support for our entire school. She has done a great job at organizing and cataloging our materials and has even taken on creating order in our catch-all room, Porter's Paradise, that is full of so many miscellaneous items. Oh, she knows. She ensures that everyone on site has the resources that they need to do their jobs successfully. Mrs. Rojas is truly integral in the day-to-day workings of this site. She is both organized and efficient in her approach and is extremely focused on her job. She takes the needs of our staff members seriously and works diligently to meet them. She is quick to respond to phone calls and emails, and those she works with trust in her abilities. Ms. Rojas does all of this with a smile. Mrs. Rojas is an asset to the Monroe community, and we are grateful that she has chosen to work at our site.
Congratulations, Sandy.
All right, we have one more. It's so exciting. Our final staff member who we are honoring is Catherine Morton, and she is our certificated employee of the month, or again at Monroe, our certificated employee of the year. You will also be getting a crown. Love it. I told Miss Morton that she needed to read a 45-minute presentation and give a PowerPoint, and she turned bright red. So I think I won't make her do that. Okay, Mrs. Morton has been a counselor at Monroe for the past 2 years. She joined us for the 21-22 school year and has been an absolute integral part of this team ever since. She is truly amazing. She knows all of the students on campus by name and many of their families. She works so well with our students, our staff, our parents, and she is able to really connect and help people feel both comfortable and heard. Mrs. Morton is flexible and accommodating to teachers and students. While she has over 370 students on her caseload, she is always available to meet with students who need support. She regularly works with students in small groups, does guidance lessons in every classroom, 2, 3, sometimes 4 times a month, and still finds time to work with students one-on-one and to help them feel validated. Mrs. Morton is a key member of our Monroe Tier 2 care team, where her input ensures that students' needs are met beyond the classroom. She is an exceptional team player. She regularly goes above and beyond for the students, the staff at Monroe. She is so supportive of the classroom teachers that some have shared that they could not do their job without her. Mrs. Morton has a positive attitude and is always upbeat and happy. She is hardworking and never complains. Mrs. Morton is a new addition to our staff and has been a bright light in these changing times. Thank you, Mrs. Morton, for all you do to support our school. We are so honored to work alongside you.
Congratulations, Catherine. And thank you, Principal Stroll. All right, we are going to move on to Maria Creo High School, and I believe Principal Luke is going to be joining us remotely.
Good evening, President Sheffield, Superintendent Trinnell, board members, cabinet members, community members. I'm Principal Luke, principal of Maria Creo High School, home of the Pumas, and regrettably can't be there this evening, but I am so proud of our team that is there, our admin team, and others that are there with our honorees. So our honorees tonight, our student of the month is Joy Maitiro, and our classified staff member of the month is Norma Perez, and our certificated teacher of the month is Joe Silvestri. So let's start with Joy Maitiro. I'd like to recognize her. And is she stepping to the podium with maybe Miss Deakins? Okay. All right. So my experience with Joy, she currently sits on our advisory committee. She is the president of her senior class, and she is very thoughtful and inclusive and warm and welcoming, and she brings a very strong perspective to a myriad of issues on the advisory committee pertaining to the running of our school. And her teachers have much to say about her. Ms. West, her AP Environmental Science teacher, says that she is kind, hardworking, has an immense amount of respect for others inside and outside the classroom. She's open to working with others and sure to include everyone when leading lab activities. Her positive attitude and kindness is very refreshing, and she's a pleasure to have in class. Joy's advocate, Ms. Gunter, notes that she's a true pleasure to have an advo. She is hardworking. She can always count on her to help with projects or activities that are going on that day. And again, she has a great positive attitude and brightens the classroom. Joy is also in leadership, And Mr. Brady, one of our co-leadership teachers, says that her name is very fitting to who she is, that she is a joy to be around, a joy to have in class, that she is someone who includes others, that she's immensely kind and positive. And she works hard, a very hard worker. And she's also the Spirit Committee chair. And this year was directly responsible for helping to put on our homecoming dance, which we're very proud of, that had a record number of 1,200 attendees. And she's also very inclusive and kind in her AP Gov class as well. So all across the board, all of her teachers and peers see her as warm, welcoming, inclusive, a positive attitude, and an excellent example of a leader and Puma on our site. Congratulations to you, Joy, on being Santa Rosa City Schools Student of the Month, and congratulations to your family who supports you every day. And thank you for allowing Maria Carrillo to be in partnership with you and loaning her to us for these 4 years. Right.
Congratulations, Joy, class president, and a joy to be around.
Thanks. Next, we have Norma Perez. This is our classified staff member of the month. She is our attendance tech extraordinaire. I know that whenever I go to her or any one of our admin team has a question about a student in attendance, she is just so kind and goes and does the research and comes back, and she's so thorough, always so helpful, insightful. She treats all students and staff with kindness and respect. She fulfills many requests from parents, students, teachers, and administration each day. She has the strength and compassion to say no to requests or behaviors that do not serve others' well-being, but she's also but she does it in such a way, leaving with dignity and kindness. She's intelligent, reasons supporting her decisions. Her communication style is invaluable for modeling to our students. She is a joy to work with in our attendance office. Her peers see her as welcoming, and that she makes it a very pleasant place to work. She's definitely an asset to our office staff. I appreciate her professionalism. She understands the importance of confidentiality in the workplace, and we can always count on her, again, as I had said, to do research and really come back with accurate information. We're so lucky to have you, Norma. Your kindness, your compassion, and how you are with our students and our families. So congratulations to you on being one of Santa Rosa City Schools honored classified staff members this month. And thank you to your family who also has you on loan to us, right? Thank you.
Congratulations, Norma.
Aw. Right. Next, Joe Silvestri is our certificated staff member who we're honoring tonight. And Joe Silvestri is a social science teacher extraordinaire, Puma peer coordinator, co-teacher for Global Perspectives, just all around, a student month coordinator. His peers see him as a stellar educator and leader and role model. He collaborates with a number of teachers on campus, as I said, Global Perspectives Core Team, a program unique to our site. He teaches freshman humanities and collaborates with freshman English teachers. Again, he's also the coordinator of our Student of the Month program, where we recognize 8 to 9 Pumas and take them to lunch and just kind of find out more about what they're inspired to do after school. He is one of the co-coordinators of our Puma Peers program, which is juniors and seniors that are linked with freshmen advocacies to help with connection in school climate and culture. And then he's a social science teacher as well, as I said, with Gov and Econ. And whenever I've gone into his classroom, I'm happy to see that he has students talking to each other, sounding like historians, asking questions, and he's circulating, and they totally seem at ease talking to him and him getting their, creativity, thinking going. So on the wider district level, Joe is currently working on an Ethnic Studies U.S. History course for our juniors. And I'm just really happy to recognize him tonight. And so consistently demonstrating immense knowledge of our world, but he's fervently dedicated to teaching all students with compassion and care. And he embodies the spirit of a Puma. He is passionate, hardworking, and has mastered his craft and will continue to positively contribute to our campus for years to come. Thank you, Joe, for your dedication to Maria Carrillo. It's a better place because of you, and congratulations on being Santa Rosa City Schools Certificated Employee of the Month.
Congratulations, Joe.
And thank you to your family as well.
Thank you, Principal Luke.
All right, thank you. If that's all you need from me, yes, for now.
Nice to see you. Yes.
All right, have a good holiday season.
Thank you. You as well. All right, we are now on C8, our school site parent organization updates, and we have representatives from Monroe and from Carrillo. We have ELAC representative and parents from both schools. We will start with Monroe. If we have a representative.
I'm not sure if Beatrice is here. I don't see her on Zoom.
Okay,
Principal Storrell, has she arrived?
connectivity
okay.
issues. Okay, we will transition over to Carrillo. We have representatives from Carrillo.
So speak bilingual, so we'll
Yes.
begin in Spanish.
El éxito es la suma de pequeños esfuerzos repetidos día tras día. Buenas noches. Informe de las actividades del ELAC llevadas a cabo en este nuevo año escolar en María Carrillo High School.
Success is the sum of small efforts repeated day after day. Good evening. This is the report of the ELAC activities carried out this new school year in Maria Carrillo High School.
Septiembre 7. Se realizó la elección del comité ejecutivo designándome nuevamente como presidenta del ELAC y a la señora Laura Flores como representante de la escuela en las reuniones del DILAC. A los padres que se unieron por primera vez a las reuniones del ELAC se les dio una explicación más amplia de lo que significa y los beneficios del ELAC, expresando su alegría de contar con una asociación que les brinde este tipo de apoyo tanto padres como estudiantes. Por parte de las autoridades del colegio se nos informó sobre el plan escolar y los servicios complementarios que tiene la escuela para los estudiantes, en especial para los aprendices de inglés. Los padres expresaron sus inquietudes y solicitaron información sobre cómo se prepara un estudiante o qué tiene que hacer para ir a la universidad. Las autoridades nos dieron una información básica, pero quedaron que en la próxima reunión traerían una persona especializada en este tema para que nos dé mayor información, a lo que los padres pidieron que los estudiantes estén presentes para que escuchen, a lo que con gusto aceptaron. En consenso se llegó que las reuniones serían presenciales.
September 7th meeting, this is a summary. The elections for the ELAC Executive Committee were held, appointing Ms. Alejandra as the chairperson of ELAC once again, and selecting Mrs. Laura Flores to represent the school in ELAC meetings. Parents who joined ELAC meetings for the first time were given a broader explanation of what ELAC is and the benefits of ELAC, expressing their joy for having an association that provides this support for parents and students. School authorities informed us about the school plan and the complementary services the school has for students, especially for English learners. The parents expressed their concerns and requested information about how a student prepares or what they need to do to go to university. The school representatives gave us some basic information, but they agreed that the next meeting would bring a specialist into that subject to help us with additional information. The parents then asked the students be present to hear this presentation, and they gladly accepted the request. In consensus, it was decided that the ELAC meetings would be face-to-face in person.
Octubre 12. Se leyó y aprobó la minuta de la reunión anterior. La señora Laura Flores dio su informe de la pasada reunión del DILAC. Estuvo presente la consejera universitaria y de carreras profesionales en María Carrillo High School, Kimberly Handel, quien hizo una presentación sobre los requisitos que tienen que seguir los estudiantes para entrar a la universidad, lo cual fue un aporte importante para nosotros los padres y sobre todo para los alumnos. Los padres preguntaron si se les podía facilitar información sobre universidades o colleges en los que podían solicitar ingresos sus hijos y si tienen la posibilidad de adquirir becas estudiantiles. Las autoridades informaron que iban a buscar la información solicitada para que sea expuesta en la próxima reunión. Se acordaron las fechas para las próximas reuniones del ILAC en María Carrillo High School.
On October 12th, the minutes of the previous meeting were read or approved. Ms. Laura Flores gave her report regarding the last DLAC meeting. MCHS College and Career Counselor Kimberly Handel was present and gave a presentation on the requirements for students to enter a university, which was an important contribution, for parents, especially for the students too. The parents asked if they could be provided with information about university or colleges where their children can apply for financial assistance, the possibility of acquiring student scholarships. The school representatives informed them that they were going to look for the requested information so it could be discussed in the following meeting. And the dates for the ELAC meetings at Maria Carrillo were approved.
Noviembre 16. Se leyó y aprobó la minuta de la reunión anterior. La señora Laura Flores dio su informe de la pasada reunión del DILAC. Contamos con la presencia de una representante del Santa Rosa Junior College quien nos informó sobre las carreras que ofrecen, los requisitos y las opciones de ayuda para becas estudiantiles. También habló sobre las carreras para adultos, clases de inglés como segundo idioma que ofrecen y que son gratis. Despejó las dudas de los padres y estudiantes, creando expectativas positivas para su futuro universitario. Finalmente, quiero aprovechar y agradecer a la directora Monique Luque, a su subdirectora Amy Wiss, a las profesoras y asistentes que atienden las reuniones, por su entrega, compromiso y dedicación a esta labor, porque nos hacen sentir que el aprendizaje y la adaptación de nuestros estudiantes es su mayor prioridad. Muchas gracias a todos.
Final entry here is November 16th. The minutes from the previous meeting were read or approved. Ms. Flores gave her report regarding the last DLEC meeting. We had a representative from Santa Rosa Junior College who informed us about career programs they offer, requirements and financial aid options for student scholarships. She spoke about careers for adults and English classes, ESL classes in this case, that they offer for free. I made an effort to dispel the doubts of parents and efforts by creating positive expectations for their future in the university. Finally, I want to take a moment to thank Principal Monique Luke, her assistant principal, Amy Weiss, okay, the teachers, the assistants who attend the meetings for their dedication, commitment, and dedication to the work, because they make us feel that learning and the adaptation of our students is their highest priority. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alejandra. ELAC President, thank you. We have Lisa Sullivan.
Good evening. My name is Lisa Sullivan, and I'm the president of the Maria Carrillo Parent Association. I am honored to share with you a brief report on the Parent Association happenings. As you may know, each year MCHS focuses on one of the graduate profile attributes that becomes the school's theme for the year. The 2022-2023 is the theme is the year of the universal citizen. We know it takes a village to raise a child. The Parent Association's focus is that it takes a community to run a school. We encourage parents to become part of the Carrillo community by being informed, being a donor, and being active. First, parents need to be informed of the community activities. We encourage parents to join Parent Square to stay up to date on daily and weekly happenings on the school. The association puts together a monthly newsletter that includes a report of the happenings of the school's previous activities and upcoming ones. These happenings include a school calendar, schedule reminders, college and career updates, as well as classroom information. The newsletter also includes what the leadership classes have been doing to encourage participation and enthusiasm among the students. In addition, the newsletter includes updates on Puma Athletic Boosters, Performing and Fine Arts Committee, Band Boosters, Project Grad, and ELAC. Through our various groups, we hope all parents feel represented and engaged with our school community. Through the donations of our parents, the Parent Association works to fill the funding gaps, and we're happy to help support several key programs on our campus, including after-school tutoring, library databases, science and fine arts supplies, entry fees for national and local math events, and academic, athletic, and arts awards. We continue to raise funds for campus improvement and safety, including more outdoor seating for our students, emergency supply kit, and material for our annual campus cleanup during the month of March. Most recently, when Carrillo experienced an increase in the number of students taking AP exams, the association was called upon to purchase testing tables for students. Without the support of our Puma community, none of these items would be available. We continue to fundraise, and we hope we will be able to meet our goals so we can continue to fund these various programs. The parents at Carrillo have been active by participating in school orientation, back to school night, pack the stadium night for football, as well as attending other sporting and performing arts events. We appreciate your support in helping us obtain a new lighting system for our performing arts theater. It's been a long process, but we are excited about the new developments. Supporting all of our extracurricular programs and facilities is important to our families. The mental health and safety of our students is also paramount. We have almost 1,600 students on campus, and many are experiencing mental health challenges. We would love for these students to have more access to mental health professionals. We would also love to have more campus supervisors. With almost 1,600 students on campus during lunch, the 4 administrators, 2 campus supervisors, and 1 student advisor we have on campus during this time provide less than a 1 to 227 ratio of adults to students, where the majority of students are outside on an open campus. Please help keep our students safe. Thank you for this opportunity to share with you what the Carrillo Parent Association is able to contribute to enriching our students' high school experience. Thank you for your support.
Thank you, Lisa. Parent Organization President, thank you. All right, we're just going to take a brief pause for folks who were joining us for the presentation. Maybe if you do not want to stick around for the whole meeting, this might be a good opportunity for you to work your way to the door. Happy holidays. Congratulations to our students and staff. We'll see if we can connect with her. Yeah, stretch. So no Beatrice. I'm sorry. Okay. All right. Well, reeling you all back in. Okay, for those following along, we are on agenda item C9, public comment on non-agenda items. So I'm opening it up for public comment on non-agenda items, and I will read the blue cards. Well, I will read the blue cards that we have for folks in the audience. To go first, we have Shelby Pryor. Welcome, Mr. Pryor. And we'll have 2 minutes for comment.
Thank you, board. Good evening. I had the pleasure of last week being able to finally have the opportunity to kind of bridge a gap. It was interesting coming across Ms. Dela Cruz at the Board of Supervisors meeting talking about equity and equality. Towards the tail end of that meeting, we went ahead and we had this conversation, kind of a little bit of a dialogue between us where we had never had any before. It's interesting looking into Ms. Dela Cruz's history, understanding a little bit better what we share in common. There's a couple people on this board that I share something in common with, being a bridge in my community. Understanding how we go ahead and get to these places where we have equity and equality starts at the conversation. Understanding that people who are biracial in this community have a large impact on how people have outcomes throughout how they see certain things through this equity lens we love to use as a type of communication to describe what we should deal with in equality. I will continue to stand up for the things that are right, and I will continue to live by the principle of what Mr. Malcolm X told me, which was when a person places the proper value of freedom, there's nothing under the sun that he will not do to acquire that freedom. Whenever you hear a man saying he wants freedom, but is in the next breath is going to tell you what he won't do to get it, or he doesn't believe in doing in order to get it, he doesn't believe in freedom. A man who believes in freedom will do anything under the sun to acquire or preserve that freedom. We have to continue to keep pushing these boundaries and finding ways to mingle and live amongst ourselves. The issues that I listened to these parents just give us was very interesting. They need these resources to get their kids back on track. We should stay focused on those things. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pryor. Happy holidays. All right, we have one more blue card. We have Michael Vonderporten. Hey, Michael, welcome.
Good evening. First of all, I'd like to say I'm pleased to be here with the Monroe Elementary folks. That's my home elementary school, and two of my boys went to Monroe. We've had many volunteer hours there. I also think this is a good facility. It's great to see you in the city schools, and I encourage you to come back here. And I think the space is nice. But I'm here to talk about COVID. And I know that's been a big issue for you for the last 2.5 years, and I'd like to take a broader view of it. And if you got a pencil, scribble some numbers. In Sonoma County, we've had 523 deaths from COVID. But if you look at it on a population basis, in the United States, it's been 1 in 308 people. In the state, it's 1 in 415. In Sonoma County, it's 1 in 936. Those are remarkable numbers. Had we achieved the death rate of the state of California, we'd have had 1,180 deaths here in Sonoma County. Instead, we've saved 660 lives. And if you look at it on a USA basis, and we're just performing the way this country has performed, we'd have had 1,590 deaths. We've saved 1,070 lives by those calculations. There are 4 big guns in this county that deal with public issues. The Board of Supervisors, this is my mind, the Santa Rosa City Council, the Junior College Board, and this board. And I think these 4 organizations have actually, when you look at the numbers, done an amazing job over the last 2.5 years dealing with COVID. And so I say, thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Happy holidays. All right, now we will go to folks who may be joining us remotely, our virtual attendees, and we'll open it up for public comment on non-agenda items.
Thank you, President Sheffield. There are members of the public joining us on Zoom and would like to join us and would like to comment on a non-agenda item. Please raise your hand at this time. The first speaker is Tina Rogers. There's a 2-minute time limit.
Got it. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much. See here. I want to say thank you very much for all that you all do. And I'm here to talk about the Dr. Martin Luther King birthday celebration for 2023, which will be held Sunday, January 15th at 6:30 to 8 p.m. via Zoom. It is a surprise to many Sonoma County celebrations that the Dr. Martin Luther King is the oldest formal birthday recognition event west of the Mississippi River. Since 1984, our organizing committee has honored the legacy of Dr. King in our annual community-wide event. The ultimate goal is for our residents to remember the deepest meaning of his lifelong work, not just to celebrate his birthday and the quote unquote dream, but of more than just future, but together build, sustain his vision. We invite all educators to mark every January in their lesson plans and create at least one assignment relevant to his vision. Our event on Sunday, January 15th, students' projects and contributions are welcome. Through Peach Jar and also through many different forms, there's information on K through 12 student poster contests and competition, as well as 7th to 12th grade oratorical contests. Ideally, please designate at least one main contact person for your school to receive important information. The theme for this year is Power at its Best is Love, implementing the demands of justice. I want to say to all of you in the community, as we move forward through the holidays and all these wonderful things that we have going on this month, let's all take a look ahead for 2023 and how we all best can, that we can all best unite and do the best thing for our youth in this community. Thank you on behalf of the Sonoma County Martin Luther King birthday celebration. My name is Tina Rogers. Everyone have a good evening.
Thank you, Tina. And let's make sure we get that information out to our schools and to our families.
Thank you,
Yes,
Sheffield.
yes.
Thank you,
Thank
Mrs.
you.
Rogers. Our next speaker is Christina L. Christina, if you can please state your full name for the record.
Hi, my name is Christina Little, and I am calling to, or not calling, sorry. I'm here to make a statement on behalf of Ms. Adina Flores. I would like to know how long the board plans on paying her for not showing up. I mean, you guys have put her on administrative leave and she is still being paid. So are you guys going to give her an answer as to why she's been put on administrative leave, or are you just going to keep paying her indefinitely? Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Maria. Maria, if you can please state your full name for the record.
Maria Posey. I'm calling in because I'm still going to ask the same question. Would love to have answers as to why Adina Flores has been placed on leave. You sit and commend all of these employees that seem to be doing so much for kids, but those weren't the employees that were actually standing up for the kids and the parents that didn't know what was going on. Adina took that on, and what do you guys do? You put her on leave. And then you talk about how you guys are going to be taking a break, you know, the holiday season. Nice to be able to take a break and go in the holiday season while somebody else is just sitting there waiting to find out why they've been placed on leave. Nothing. Seriously, for this long, that's ridiculous. And then you have somebody that the commenter that came up that wanted to give COVID numbers. It's always funny how they want to leave out, you know, certain things like how high is the suicide rate because of the COVID? And you guys did not do a great job. It was absolutely ridiculous. We've been dealing with colds and flus and everything else forever. And you guys shut it down over something that you don't even give accurate information on. Half the people that you guys say have COVID don't even have COVID. COVID's a disease. Look it up. It's on the CDC site. It's on the FDA site. It's SARS-CoV-2. If you don't get the disease and you don't have symptoms of a disease, you don't have it. You don't tell somebody with HIV that they have AIDS, because AIDS is the disease. So why don't you talk about what the actual virus is, give it the name, because we've all heard of SARS for years. So you guys really need to start doing your job. The people that go up and speak need to actually educate themselves if they're going to go up and congratulate a bunch of school people, especially when somebody prior to that is talking about all the mental illness that's happening with the kids. But I'd also like to state on that, if you see mental illness in children, that needs to be brought to the parents. That's not a teacher thing. That's not a school counselor thing. That's a child who has a parent. Bring it to the parent. You're court mandated and you need to do the right thing. You don't bring in more hacks that don't know what they're talking about with masks.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Perfect.
President Sheffield, there are no other hands raised.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you to all who spoke with your issues and your concerns. We are going to move on to the next agenda item, C10, A special presentation for Jill McCormick, outgoing board trustee. Hi, Jill. Tonight, we honor the service of our colleague, trustee Jill McCormick. As I launch into all the wonderful things I have to say about Coach, I want to start by praising her for her inspiring role as a public servant. What it means to be a public servant is to uphold a contract with the community. In our position as school board members, our contract is the commitment of public office and the responsibility to represent the interests of our schools, our students, our staff, the school community to the best of our ability. We swear an oath to uphold this position and also to protect the integrity of the office. This is not an easy thing to do, especially lately in this crazy environment we now all live in. Public service is a serious undertaking, and it's not for the faint of heart. In addition to certain skill sets like budgeting, risk management, governance, human resources, public relations, facilities financing, etc., the job of school board trustee also requires passion, commitment, dedication, and sacrifice. Sacrifice is a big one because maybe what the public doesn't fully understand are the day-to-day sacrifices we make because it's what's expected of public officials. It's more than the seemingly little things like late night meetings, which we've had more than a few of, or missing a kid or a spouse's birthday. These are all things we do because it's our duty as public servants, and because our commitment to the school community often comes first. And these are just seemingly little things. But what I want to say to you, Coach McCormick, is that you fulfilled your contract with the school community and your service has been exemplary. And I'll say this, that with the exception of very few in the room, most of the public doesn't think about the weight we all as board members carry with us because of the more difficult decisions that we must make in the best interest of our students and our employees. Every decision we make may be unpopular or controversial. These are weights that we carry. And Coach Jill, as we say farewell to you tonight, and I speak on behalf of the entire board, you've always been there for us with your strength and your courage and your compassion, and you've always kept us going. And personally, I've confided in you about some of the tougher votes that we've made together, and we've talked about sleepless nights and dealings with angry pushback from the public. And you were always there as my rock. Sometimes it was just a quick text or a well-timed phone call, that little message that says, "You've got this." And for all of us, I know we've taken heed of your positive coach affirmations, the gratitude attitude, power through this, listen to your heart, listen to your gut, and the game's not over. There were times when you carried us, your team, through some pretty tough goings, especially during the darker days of the pandemic. And on a side note for people listening out there, if any of you need a little inspiration, you can check out Jill's podcast, Conversations with Coaches. And I'm not joking, this is available on Apple Podcast. A little shameless plug there for you. So as we say farewell to Coach McCormick tonight, and although her heart is still with the district, she gets to return to her civilian life with a little less weight on her chest. For those of you who may not know, Coach came to the district in 2018 as an appointed member to the board. This means the board interviewed her for the job So first she had to win us over for the appointment, and then she had to win over the public for the position she swore an oath to uphold. And appointments happen when an office is vacated, and sometimes there's nobody willing to do the dirty work. As I mentioned, public service is a tough job. And for the most part, it's a job that people don't want to do. It's rough and it's messy, and you must be thick-skinned and maybe a little crazy to want to subject yourself to some of the abuse. And anyone who attends our meetings knows exactly what I'm talking about. But to do the job, you have to be tough. You have to be coach tough. And Jill, we were fortunate enough to have you, coach, for the past 4 years. You were delivered to us at exactly the right time, and your service has been admirable. So, Trustee Jill McCormick, coach, my lieutenant this past year, my VP, my colleague and confidant, my sister, my dear friend, thank you for your service. Tonight we say farewell and we return you to your civilian status. We give you back to Peter and your family, hopefully with not too much damage done. Gratitude, love, respect, and sincere appreciation. Thank you, Trustee McCormick.
That is overwhelming. Thank you, Pres Ed and the whole board. And I just I would not have missed this meeting for the world, but I have COVID. So that is why I'm not there tonight. And I'm so bummed I don't get to see you guys in person. But I want to just take a brief minute to say it has been an honor to serve during one of the most challenging times in public education, in the history of public education. And I'm full of gratitude for the dedicated work of our students, our parents, our faculty, our staff, and my fellow board members. I'm a product of this district. I've been a student, I've been a teacher, I've been a coach, I've been a parent. And I knew a lot about this district before becoming a board member, but I have learned so much about how public education touches every sector of our community and the hard work we do. And I say we, the hard work we do matters. And I will forever be a supporter of this district and will look for more ways to stay connected and stay involved and support Santa Rosa City Schools for sure. I want to say congratulations to our returning board members, Trustee Manieri and Trustee Medina. And I want to congratulate and wish the best of luck to our incoming trustee filling the Area 2 section of our district, Trustee McNally, soon to be sworn in. And a huge thank you to Superintendent Trunell for your past, present, and future leadership. And I'm just overwhelmed with your words, President Sheffield, and I'm just overwhelmed and inspired every day by all of these board members and what you guys do. And it's just been a pleasure and an honor, and some of the most challenging and toughest times I've had as an educator. But I'm glad to have had it, and I will continue supporting this district in any way that I can. So thank you very, very much.
Now, we also have some parting gifts for you.
I know there's special delivery, like
You want to
Santa.
go ahead? It's ready for you.
Okay, this was delivered to my house earlier today. See? Oh, there's several things in here. Start with the little box. This is appropriate. We've got a golden coach whistle here that is engraved and says SRCS Board of Education with the years on it. I love this. This is beautiful. This is going in the office. I love this so much. And Oh, and a beautiful, I don't know if you guys can see it, probably can't see it. A beautiful plaque. It says, with our deepest appreciation, we hereby honor Jill McCormick in recognition of your passion. I'm getting choked up now. Unconditional commitment and enduring dedication to the students of Santa Rosa City Schools. Thank you, SRCS Board of Education. Thank you so much, you guys. I cherish my time with you and I will support you going forward very much. Love you guys very much. So sorry I can't be there tonight.
Don't drop the mic. Stay with us. 'Cause, you know,
Okay.
board members might have a few words to say. Yeah, go ahead, Trustee Medina.
Yeah, board member McCormick, I just want to say it's been an honor. I think it's been very important to have you to offer new perspectives to me. I've learned a lot from you. Having you be a part of this democratic process, keep up what you're doing, the coaching, the fitness, and there's going to be a void with a lot of your specific insights from your coaching, from your athletic perspective, and everything that you provide, especially from the JC. So you will be missed, but it's been an honor. Good luck with all your future endeavors.
Thank you. Thank you, Omar.
Trustee De La Cruz.
Jock Mama on the board. There is really nothing like your energy and your spirit and your experience as an educator and as a mom and as just one of the most dedicated community members that I know in this place. Super grateful for all that you bring, your positivity, your deep love and care for people in this work and in this world. And I am going to miss you so much. And yeah, stay at it. I know you will, and we'll stay in touch because you're one in a million. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's my turn. Jill, it has been just an honor to serve with you, and I've learned a lot from you about showing up like authentically and as your true self, which is something that I've struggled with for a really long time. And I want to be like you when I grow up in every single way. Maybe not a coach because I'm not sporty, but in every other way, I want to be like you. And you are just so inspirational. And I know that we're going to see you around. And I can't wait to celebrate you another time.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Steph.
Jill, I just want to say thank you so much for serving on the board. I remember serving as an executive board member. We're looking for a new superintendent. I learned a lot. I learned a lot of patience. And I just want to say thank you for your views and always being just like what Stephanie said, true to yourself. We need divergent voices. You know, we need to make sure that we are true to what we believe and have those heart-to-heart conversations, because that is part of the democratic process. That is why we're here. That's why we were elected. This is the core of what we do, right? We don't necessarily have to agree all the time, right? But then the process of the conversation has taught us a lot where we are coming from. And for that, I appreciate all the years of service that you put on to this board. Thank you so much, Coach.
Thank you, Ever.
Coach Jill, I really thank you because I've known you since you were a high school senior and I was a new teacher at Montgomery, and you were all in, and half the job is showing up, and you always showed up. So thank you for agreeing to be on this board because you filled a great position. You did a good job when we needed you for all the things we went through during your 4 years. Thank you for showing up always. You're grounded, and I know that we can count on you on Made in Santa Rosa. Thank you also for being the vice president I counted on when I was the president, and you rock. Love you, and I know you're going to continue to do great things, and I want to be like you when I grow up too.
I was gonna say I want to be like Lori when I grow up.
Dr. Bowie? See, you're working with the mic over there.
And it sucks that I only gotten to work with you for a few months, but it's been an honor and I have so much respect for you. I'm thankful for all the conversations we had, and I hope that we still stay in touch in the future.
You're gonna do incredible things, girl.
Okay, coach, in true fashion, I'm going to try to play you out here. Let's see.
Yay.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Overwhelmed.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, we're going to have Superintendent Trunell say a few words.
I'm going to try and do this without crying. It's been such an honor to work with you, and I know it's not the end. I am so grateful for our friendship, and I can't imagine starting as a new superintendent without you as part of the equation and being one of my 7 bosses. There is a poem that has really resonated with me. I think you have an artifact from me as a remembrance, but it says this: fate whispers to the warrior, you cannot withstand the storm. And the warrior whispers back, I am the storm. My dear, you are the storm. Thank you so much, and I look forward to our continued friendship and work together. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you so much, you guys. Thank you.
We'll celebrate in person soon.
Soon. Thank you. Keep working hard, you guys. It matters.
Thank you. All right. Well, folks, for those joining us in person or remotely, we are going to move on to C11, board member oath. Let's swear in some officers. Per board bylaw 9224, prior to entering upon the duties of their office, all Board of Education members shall take the oath of affirmation required by law. Tonight, I will be administering the oaths to our newest board member, as well as the oaths of incumbent elect members, Omar Medina and Stephanie Manieri. So we're gonna have Roxanne come on up. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna do this up front. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna swear you all in. With just everybody come up and up front. I have a script somewhere. Nope, just our swearees, I guess. And we'll come where the cameras can catch us. All right, you guys stand here. I'll stand here. We'll have you raise your right hand. We'll do this all formal. Okay, now, and you're going to repeat after me, and I'm going to have you insert your name. We'll go back and forth, and that's how we do it. I, state your name, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
Constitution of the State of California.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance.
I will bear true faith and allegiance.
To the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California.
Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of California.
That I will take this obligation freely.
That I will take this
obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
And congratulations, sworn in officers. All right, things are going to get crazy here, guys, because what follows is, well, we'll get there, but. Okay, now we are on agenda item C12, annual organization of the board and board president end of the year report. I'm going to start with the end of the year report. I'm going to try not to ramble. I can abbreviate this. We've accomplished so much in 2022, and I'm just going to highlight a few of these things. With a lot of work from Superintendent Trunell and her team, we adopted the combined elementary and high school district budget for the 22-23 school year. This is the primary fiduciary role of the board. Also, with the expertise of Superintendent Trunell and her team, we approved LCAPs, the district's local control and accountability plans. We also partnered with SRCS and SRTA, our staff and our teachers, to develop safe return to school guidelines. And we made routine updates to our COVID-19 safety handbook. This is ensuring that all of our students and staff are safe and healthy. We modified and adapted to meet the state requirements of mandates like the universal transitional kindergarten and adding of learning supports going into the school year. We supported the superintendent's recognition of her cabinet to allow for more supports and services to meet the priorities of our mission and vision. And this includes the bringing on new staffing positions. In 2022, we welcomed Assistant Superintendent Mike Shepard and Rand Van Dyke as Assistant Superintendent of Technology and Information Services, and Dr. Roderick Castro as Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services, and more recently, Lisa Cavan as our new CBO. And you have all been instrumental parts of our team, and so thank you for your hard work these past few months, and looking forward to continuing things in 2023. We also approved a new contract with Superintendent Trunell. Anna, we are so fortunate to have you at the helm of our ship. It's been a long year and the list goes on, but I'm going to end on the passage of our bond measures, the general obligation bonds for elementary district and the high school district, with the support of the community and the hard work of Superintendent Trunell and her team, and the board and the bond committee, trustees McCormick and Fong in particular, for the work that you did in the trenches to secure some of the funding. It's not enough, but some of the funding that we need to maintain and improve our school sites. So that's going to wrap up my year-end report because I'm going to pivot for the second part of this agenda item, which is our annual organization of the board. Every year, following the swearing in of newly elected board members, this governing body acts to organize or reorganize board officers. This process is done before the public at regularly scheduled, agendized board meetings. And tonight we have the option of electing board president, vice president, board clerk, and the reappointment of Superintendent Trunell as our de facto secretary of the board. Okay, we're gonna get things rolling here. So we will begin with the election of the president. So at this time, I will take nominations from the board for the role of president. And I see. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to pass this over to the clerk, board clerk. Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you. Okay. So as clerk of the board, I am responsible to open up the election for president. So I am looking for someone to be nominated for president of our school board.
I'd like to nominate Stephanie Magnetti for president of our school board.
Yep.
And I accept the nomination. All right. Are there any other nominations? Okay. If there is no second nomination, then all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any oppositions or abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you.
Now we're going to do a little bit of shifting here.
Yeah, do we?
Yeah, it's official.
Do you want me to like physically move over
You
there?
physically move on over here.
With all my stuff.
And I'm going to ceremonially hand you this gavel.
Okay.
Oh, I want to get a picture of that before I am gone. I am fully vacated. I know, this is going to be weird. What should you say?
So I will continue to do the rest of it.
Yeah, and the script is right here, yes?
This is not the script.
Where's the script? Is it in the board agenda?
It's on the board agenda. You
Okay, I can pull it up.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, we'll just get settled in. Yes. Okay. Before we continue, I just want to thank our outgoing board president, Director Sheffield, for your leadership this past year, for making sure that this transition is a really smooth one, and for being someone that we can all lean on in times of crisis, because we know we've had those this past year. So thank you so much. Are other board members allowed to? Okay. Great. So I'll open it up if any other board members would like to say a few words to Director Sheffield. Director Fong.
Don't feel like you have to think.
Thanks for those pickles for Christmas, for holiday. And you've done a great job. Thank you for being a steady hand at the helm to take us through things. You didn't get flustered, you're calm, you know stuff, you're grounded, and I appreciated your leadership all year. Thank you so much, Ed.
Yes, Director Flores.
I just want to echo what you just mentioned. I mean, having someone on the board as president who is even keel, prepared, with copious notes, it's awesome. So I just want to say thank you for your leadership all these years, and And thank you for saying yes last year, because I know the year before you said no. So you did a wonderful job this year. Thank you.
Yes. Director De La Cruz.
Thank you for raising the bar, Mr. President. It has been so cool to watch you just step right into everything with such groundedness, such brilliance, such preparedness. Like you really show all of us what it means to show up in quite the way that you do. Super grateful. Thank you.
Director Medina.
Yes, it's been awesome having you as president. Your many years of like public service experience, being able to be very respectful with the public in the democratic process, I think has just been something awesome to watch, in my opinion. I've loved having you as president, and I love serving with you. But thank you for taking on that role, which I know is not easy.
Yep. Director Bowie.
I love that I've been able to work with you, and I'm excited to continue for the rest of the semester and the rest of the school year.
Ed, thank you for being patient with me and meeting with me weekly and listening and giving me great guidance. It's been a pleasure working with you in your capacity as president. And I look forward to us properly celebrating you as the outgoing president at our next meeting, not knowing what the outcome of tonight would be. So thank you so much.
Ditto to that. All right, so now we'll move on to the to nominations for vice president. I will now accept nominations for vice president. Are there any nominations? Director Sheffield.
That work? Wow. This is what you guys have to go through all the time without the master mic. I nominate Trustee Medina.
Is there a second?
Oh, if he accepts, if he's willing. Yeah.
Great. Are there any other nominations? If there is no second nomination, then all those in favor say aye. Any oppositions or abstentions? Motion carries. Congratulations, Vice President Medina.
Thank you. Thank you. Everybody, thank you.
I am now going to accept nominations for clerk. Are there any nominations? Yes, Director Sheffield.
Quick with that. I nominate Trustee Fong.
Is there a second, or does Director Fong accept the nomination? Is there a second? Great. Are there any other nominations? If there is no second nomination, then all those in favor say aye. Any oppositions or abstentions? Motion carries. Congratulations, Director Fong. You are now the new clerk. Okay.
Okay for now. Fix it later. Thank you.
Now we will move to item C13, adoption of the 2023 board meeting calendar. Oh, I'm sorry. Just because it's de facto, just kidding. So we also need to appoint, do we take nominations for that one? We just appoint. So now we are going to appoint Superintendent Turnell as a secretary of the board. Although, do we need to vote on that one? Okay, so we need to affirm it. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any abstentions or oppositions? Great, that motion, that carries, that is affirmed. Yeah. Great, and thank you for your patience. And now we will move on to item C13, adoption of the 2023 board meeting calendar. The board will consider adoption of the 2023 board meeting calendar as stated in board bylaw 9100 and 9322.
The Santa Rosa City Schools Board of Education has 2 board meetings per month, except July, November, and December have only 1 meeting. Regularly scheduled board meetings are held on the 2nd and 4th Wednesdays of each month unless otherwise noted. The 3rd Wednesday of each month is reserved for tentative special board meetings. The meetings are scheduled on an as-needed basis. Prior notice will be given. And this, do we need to vote on this one too? Yeah. Okay, so I am looking for a motion to adopt the 2023 board meeting calendar. Okay,
I second.
moved by Director Fong and seconded by Director De La Cruz. And we will have discussion before moving on. Yes, Director Flores.
So I like the board to consider the idea of maybe having the July as a month without a meeting at the CSBA conference. I went to a few workshops, and what I found that is like a lot of districts do not meet in the month of July to give families the opportunity to have a vacation, not only for the school board, but our staff. And I just like us to consider that if that's something we can do in tandem with our staff to see if we can have that as a, as a change. This is something that we have to adopt. It's not a negotiable item, right? So this is the purview of the board.
Correct, and there's a board.
There is a board bylaw that would need to be adjusted to reflect that there would be no meeting in July.
So if we consider that, that would mean bringing the bylaw to our next session.
Yes, a suggestion would be to take action on the calendar that's provided tonight and then bring forward the bylaw to the next meeting with the adjustment to the new calendar.
So, got it. So I move that we approve this calendar, right? I think you already had a second.
Yes.
With the flexibility to bring it up in to bring the bylaw in our next meeting, so we can have the discussion to whether or not have a July session to amend the bylaw. I think we'll have to do that here today, and then, but I don't know if the rest of the board feels like this is something that we should take a gander at. Can we discuss about that? Can we discuss it? See if there's any interest in that and move on.
Do other board members have thoughts around this proposal?
There we go. I mean, I'm open to future discussion, absolutely. I mean, I like the proposal.
Okay. Director Medina.
I said I'm fine with approving what's presented, and then something coming up in the future, we'll vote on it. And I don't think there's any issue changing the calendar based on a change in board policy. So I think, is there a motion right now to approve what's presented? And that was seconded? Okay, then, yeah, I don't see an issue.
Great. So now we are ready for a roll call vote.
Director Bowie,
Aye.
Director Fong, Director De La Cruz, Director McNally, Director Flores,
Aye.
Director Medina,
Aye.
Director Sheffield,
Aye.
President Manieri.
Aye. Thank you. That passes. And now we will continue on to our D items, our report items. We will begin with California School Employee Association Santa Rosa 75 report. Is CSEA President Lehman here?
Good evening. President Sheffield, not President Sheffield anymore. Superintendent Chanel, Board of Trustees, student board member, the community, and classified staff who are present and who are listening on Zoom tonight. A special farewell to Jill McCormick, outgoing board trustee, and welcome new board member Roxanne McNally, Area 2. And returning board members Omar Medina, Area 4, and Stephanie Manieri, Area 6. And welcome again to our new CBO, Lisa Cavan. Congratulations to our students and teachers of the month at James Monroe and Maria Carrillo High School, especially our classified employees, Sandy Rojas from James Monroe and Norma Perez, attendance tech from Maria Carrillo. Congratulations to retiring employees this month and welcome new arrivals. As the year comes to an end, the darkness and freezing temperatures permit us to turn inward and allow reflection. It is also report card time for students. So I thought a CSEA report card might be a way to reflect on the ways the district and the board has supported our members and how we can work together in a positive way for the upcoming year. Item 1. Last February, I reached out to the board members to visit their liaison schools with them. I received responses only from 2, Lori Fong and Ever Flores. Thank you for your time and interaction with me. Lori went to CCLA with me to meet the classified employees. We are hoping more board members will reach out to their liaison schools and get to know the classified staff, the students, as well as the principals at the sites. Item 2, we asked for a living wage during negotiations. Of course, we are thankful for the 7.5% plus $1,000 FTE stipend, but we did not get a living wage, and SRCS is still not competitive with other employers. Our salaries have remained in the 25 percentile rank statewide over the last decade. Teachers have at least reached the statewide average. Since our raise and after July 2022, the board continues to increase administrative salaries retroactively. Administrators made a 6.5% wage increase, and associate and assistant superintendents 4%. Those increases are less than ours, but their salaries are over $179,000 a year and a living wage. The district keeps adding new directors. Now there appear to be 17 so-called executive director and director positions, making over $100,000 a year. Is that part of why our expenses have increased by $13.4 million as reported in our first interim budget report? And this happens as revenues are being decreased by $5.5 million. Item 3, the district has a 6% student absenteeism rate, which affects our ADA. Are we doing anything to address this problem? Do more directors fix this problem? Maybe the state should use administrative, teacher, and classified ADA as well to determine where their funds should go. Are the programs we are purchasing to help the students reaching the students in a timely manner? Teacher trainings have increased at the district office during school days, and students are getting more substitutes. However, there is a substitute shortage and a teacher shortage. Is there another way to get these trainings completed outside of the workday and negotiated? Item 4, members are still concerned about school safety. Has that been addressed? I believe it has, but what are the outcomes? Item 5, the district's priority number 3 was to hire and retain qualified employees. Are they referring to administrative employees only? There are still some 180 classified openings, no different than before our salary increase, even with a sign-on bonus now offered to new employees. We thank you for the 2 job fairs. What is the outcome? Item 6 and final. CSEA still has a job description update and salary compensation study agreement that was made with the district in 2019. As we will soon enter successor negotiations for a new contract, it would be nice to bring this to a close and solve some of these problems. That is the end of my report card. Nowadays, some report cards use pass or not pass. No one fails anymore. We just work harder. I'm going to give this report card an incomplete and tell you that we look forward to working together with you to resolve these problems, to support our classified staff and students in the upcoming year. Remember, our mission is to improve the lives of our members, the students, and the community. Our members bring purpose and passion to our jobs. Here's wishing all of you, our members, students, and the community, a safe and healthy holiday season. Thank you.
Thank you, President Lehman. We will now move to D2, Santa Rosa Teachers Association report. President Catherine Howell.
Good evening, President Manieri and members of the board, members of the community. I'm Catherine Howell, Santa Rosa Teachers Association president, representing about 900 teachers in Santa Rosa City Schools. There's a lot of change gone on in the last 90 minutes and a long list of things. Congratulations to all the students and educational support staff and educators at Monroe and Maria Carrillo High School. A huge thank you to Jill McCormick as she served on this board during what she rightly called some of the hardest years in education. The COVID years were not easy on anyone and certainly not easy on the members of this board. Congratulations to Roxanne and Omar and Stephanie for your new terms, and congratulations, President Manieri and Vice President Medina and Clerk Fong in your new leadership roles. So a couple things on tonight's agenda. The CTE report is, thank you for that. We're looking forward to hearing more about CTE in the district. We know that our CTE students and teachers need the support of the district to be continually creating and growing these CTE programs, bringing more students into it and really giving them pathways into careers, career and college. And so we're hoping that the growth of the CTE program will continue. And thank you for that report. A little bit about the first interim report. I do have a couple of concerns about the COLA rates that are in the budget assumptions in the 3-year projections. I think it's slide 8 in the presentation. I know that we are certainly in the middle of a lot of economic uncertainty in California and throughout the United States. I know that multi-year projections on first interim reports are pretty much any report I've ever seen in my more than 20 years in education. has our third year out some sort of doom and gloom bankruptcy situation. So I don't put too much status on 3-year projections because they always seem to end up with bad news. However, I think that this report creates bad news even more than it needs to with these COLAs as listed in the budget assumptions. These are not the COLAs put out by the legislative office, analyst office. These are not the COLA numbers put out by school services. These numbers were put out by SCO and by the county offices, actually a group I'd never heard of until a couple of days ago, the County Office Superintendents Organization have like a common message. These are where those numbers came from. They're really, really strictly conservative, more conservative than the LAO, more conservative than school services. And I think they're painting a picture that we don't need to be painting right now. It's 8.38 is what school services said for the year 23-24. And yet our budget assumption is a 5.38% COLA. 5.3% for 24-25. And yet I'm pretty sure our budget assumption says 4.02. This is millions of dollars that we are estimating won't be arriving. And I get it. We're being fiscally conservative, but I think that we're sending a message of something that might never happen. A message of like really bad downturn economically, creating this situation of, oh, there's no money, we're going to have to cut things. There's a $5 million deficit 3 years out that might not ever exist and wouldn't exist on paper right now if we were using the COLAs of school services and the legislative analyst office. So this is concerning to me of the messages we're sending to the public, the false narratives that we're perhaps creating around our budget situation for the next few years. And so with that, I guess I want to say happy winter break, everybody. Kind of an abrupt turn there, but I hope everyone has a joyous holiday season, and I hope that all of our students and teachers are able to have a restful and rejuvenating winter break. And thank you.
Thank you, President Howell. We're moving on to item D3, Superintendent Report.
Thank you, President Manieri. Today marks day 83 of the 22-23 school year. Today, we sent out a survey that we are asking our SRCS staff, students, and families to respond to regarding the instructional calendar for the 23-24 school year. The instructional calendar is something that we negotiate with our labor partners, and we are seeking the input of our community for information purposes. We ask that people respond to this survey no later than January 6th. Just to close and be brief tonight, I want to wish everyone a happy, safe, and healthy winter break. Our schools are closed over the next 2 weeks, and schools are back in session on January 4. And I will hand it back to you.
Thank you. Item D4, Board President Report. I do not have anything to formally report on, but I just want to say thank you to my fellow board members for entrusting me with this role. I look forward to serving alongside you in this new role and to serving our families, students, and staff in this new capacity. So thank you for your trust. And item D5, board member reports. Do we have any board members who have anything to report? Yes, Director Bowie.
I just wanted to congratulate everyone for making it through the first semester and how we only have 1 to 2 more days before the semester ends. I know everyone's been working really hard trying to get a new normalcy, especially like after all the years of the pandemic. And then I also wanted to give a big shout out to Pioneer High School and their annual Monroe Toy Drive. And a big shout out to the Monroe Student of the Month because I saw her there at the rally last Friday and she was really brave. And I'm so excited and encouraged that there's other students that are so young, but getting involved so early in school. So I just wanted to mention that.
Thank you, Director Bowie. Any other reports? Okay, great. So we're going to move on to item D6, CSBA report. Do we have a report?
I'm going to yield my time to Director Fong.
So board members belong to the California School Board Association, and I was very proud and thankful that all of us went to the annual conference that was just a couple of weeks ago. I want to also thank my fellow board members for supporting the API School Board Members Association, of which I'm the president, and we really championed Santa Rosa City Schools at a workshop we did, because I'm very proud, and we should all be proud as a district, of the work that we have done for equity, the work we have done for ethnic studies. Diane Kitamura, our former superintendent, was a presenter at a panel that my group presented, and it was well received. And we are a leader in the state of California in terms of what's going on for ethnic studies. So we should be very proud. We thank Anna, we thank Diane, and we thank staff.
Thank you, Director Fong. We are going to move to item D7, migrant education report. Okay, joining us this evening online are Kathy Fry, Coordinator of State and Federal Programs, and Jessica Hernandez, yes, migrant education teacher on special assignment, to provide us with an update on migrant ed. Okay, got it. And we are only going to hear from Jessica Hernandez this evening. No. Joining us remotely is only Jessica Hernandez. Thank you. Okay.
I'm going to ask Jessica Hernandez to share the PowerPoint.
Kathy, I don't have it on my computer. I mean, I can pull it up in just a second. Is that okay?
I guess I don't have the most recent version of Zoom.
I'm pulling it up.
Thank you. Good evening, Superintendent Trunell, President Sheffield, directors, and all other members of the school board. Tonight, we will be speaking to you about our migrant education program. Migrant education is one of the programs that is a part of the state and federal programs. We work collaboratively with the migrant education area director and staff, which is all under the Butte County Office of Education. There will be 3 of us presenting about this program this evening. 2 of us are here in person. Another, Jessica, unfortunately is home with her daughter who is not feeling well. I'm Kathy Fry, the State and Federal Programs Administrator. Sitting next to me is a strong support partner.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Juliano Segueda, and I'm the area director for Migrant Education Program.
And Jessica is.
Can I I'm sorry, Kathy. I'm Jessica Hernandez, the migrant at Tulsa, and congratulations to our new appointed president.
Thank you. Next. As is true for any state and federal program, there are expectations. As a district, we must meet. In the spring, before the following school year, Jessica and I wrote a district service agreement. This agreement is first reviewed and approved by the Butte County Office of Education before it goes on to the federal government. This plan includes the details of how our district will design programs that provide appropriate enrichment and intervention supports for migrant students, pre-K through 12th grades. We also provide guidance to staff working with migrant students. We have a number of parent advisory meetings throughout the school year where parents are elected to be representatives. There are regional meetings and summits designed to continue to educate us how to best cater to the needs of our migrant students and their families. As we go throughout the year, just like with the SIPSAs, we review the district service agreement. Our quarterly budget revisions help us to change direction if we realize that there may be better ways to accommodate our students and their families. Each child has a needs assessment and learning plan. Gratefully, we recently hired a family engagement facilitator to help us work on these documents. This is a snapshot of migrant education. Funds for migrant education are funneled from the federal government to CDE and then sent to qualified licensed educational agencies, school districts. The funding we receive is based on the number of students within our district. Sonoma County is under the umbrella of Region 2, which is administered through Butte County. The state's and county offices' responsibility is to identify and recruit migrant students. The school district provides supplemental services that help to promote students' academic achievement and restrict language and cultural barriers for both the students and their families.
Okay. So what is migrant education? The program works on supporting migrant students to achieve high academic standards and closing the achievement gap between migrant and non-migrant students. So the goal of migrant education program is to ensure that all migratory children reach challenging academic standards and graduate with a high school diploma or complete a high school equivalency diploma that prepares them for responsible citizenship, further learning, and productive employment.
So how do students qualify? Well, a child ages 3 to 21 years of age who has not graduated from high school in the United States is eligible if the parent or the guardian is a migratory worker in agriculture, dairy, lumber, fishing industries, and the family has moved during the past 3 years across district boundary lines due to economic necessities. The eligibility period is 3 years from the date of the last move, and every student must requalify every 3 years.
Migrant students are in all of our elementary and secondary schools. And currently, we have 81 elementary students. Our elementary and charter schools with the highest concentration of migrant students are Luther Burbank, James Monroe, and Cesar Chavez. In secondary schools, we have 164 students. The secondary students with the highest concentration of migrant students are Comstock Middle, Elsie Allen, Montgomery, and Pioneer High Schools. And this does change each year depending on where the students enroll.
Okay, so how do we meet the migrant education program goals? Every 5 years, the state give us a state service delivery plan that guides the migrant education program in planning the service delivery at the state, regional, and district level. These state service delivery plans are focused on ELA, math, ELD, and oral art classes must include self-pride and cultural component. And then we have another section for school readiness, credit recovery, case management for ninth graders, and we also provide training and resources for parents.
Services for migrant students.
So currently, we're offering after-school intervention virtually and face-to-face for our students. Our intervention teachers are Santa Rosa City School teachers who are so willing to help us after school for these interventions. And the migrant TOSA coaches them throughout these sessions. Our sessions are run twice a week for an hour and a half. We have 3 sessions broken down: fall, winter, and spring, and they last about 10 weeks, focusing either on ELA or math. And all our sessions focus on integrated ELD, self-respect, and cultural pride. Currently, we are finishing our fall session. And in our fall session, we focus on ELA. We did some virtual classes to help us with, we had a little difficulty recruiting teachers for the first session. And so we had some wonderful teachers who were willing to support us virtually. And so through virtual interventions, we were able to support some of the sites that didn't have in-person teachers able to help us. And so we were able to support more students than we would have if we wouldn't have had the virtual option. And then currently we are working on recruiting teachers for our winter session, which will begin in January 9th, and we'll be focusing on math. Currently for elementary, looks like we will be doing it face-to-face because we have enough elementary teachers at every site that are willing to support us. And then we are currently working on credit recovery for our high school students so that when we come back from our winter break, we can start working on that. And then one more new thing that we started this year, as Julian mentioned, one of our SSDPs is about school readiness. And so we are bringing Pasitos Científicos to Santa Rosa City Schools now. And so this is our bilingual STEM school readiness program for our migrant children ages 3 and 4. We're having 2 sessions. So we started the fall one in October, and it is taught by a bilingual teacher from Cesar Chavez, Araceli Sandoval, as you see her image there. And we have those classes offered on Saturday mornings from 9 to 11 so that the parent is present with the child. And they're focusing on pre-literacy skills, letter and sound recognition, some songs, chants, poetry. And then for science, she is focusing on the 5 senses and introducing students to digital literacy through the application of Seesaw and other apps. And they're working on some social and emotional awareness. So there's Pasitos Científicos.
Okay, and another program that provides services to migrant students in the district, it's called California Mini Course Program, which is like a cousin of the migrant education program. It's a statewide program administered by Butte County Office of Education, and locally it's at Sonoma State University, and it's designed to provide direct instructional services for migrant students in K-12 grades to increase academic achievement through college tutors. They also provide direct tutorial services, primarily in language arts and math to migrant students. And this program also increases the number of bilingual, bicultural teachers ready to work with migrant students in our school district. So far, they only have 3 tutors in Santa Rosa City Schools, and they continue the recruitment for future teachers in the JC and Sonoma State.
Another service that we offer is Migrant Ed Summer School. Last summer, we hosted a summer school program for kindergarten through 5th grade. The students attended the regular school program, summer school program, and then participated in an additional day and 2 hours after each day of the regular summer school. English language arts through art literacy was taught by experienced bilingual, bicultural teachers who were hired through the Future Educators Support. And that is a program that is supported by Butte County Office of Education. The company Aliva also worked with us. They worked with the students facilitating a curriculum designed to use fun, physically active games and sports as a vehicle to engage students in social and emotional learning. Also, our star migrant Tosa presented engaging lessons for students in mathematics.
Okay, and the next program that we had during the summer is Adelante, which our board member, Ever Flores, was the director and has been the director for the past 3 years, 30? No, 20 years, sorry. So this program is for students in 6 to 12 grades. We invite students from all over Sonoma County, but we have a big number of students from San Rosa City schools. And you can see in the slide the numbers from the different school sites. The program provides career recovery as a central component of cultural pride in being a migrant student. Next, okay, there he goes. So in the next slide, you can see the classes that the students were taking. Basically, the Adelante program was divided in 3. Adelante 1, which is for 9 to 12 grades. Adelante 2, which was for 6 and 7. And then Rising 9 graders. And you can see in the slide the different courses the students were taking for each of the programs.
And lastly, we'd like to talk to you about the Migrant Parent Advisory Committee, or what we call PAC. And the purpose of the committee is to provide a means for community and parent input during our design and operations of our district migrant ed program. It's hosted by the Butte County Office of Education, or a regional migrant ed program, and the Migrant TOSA. We have elected members who are migrant ed parents who are elected every 2 years. Last year was their first year, and so they're in their second year. And we have 6 meetings per year. On our first meeting, we have parents vote on topics of interest. And then it is my responsibility to find the experts who will present to the parents on these topics. I, as a migrant at TOSA, present on federal program monitor topics, and all our migrant families are invited to participate. And currently we are hosting these meetings virtually. And so we let parents know through Parent Square, through phone calls. And like Kathy mentioned, now that we have a family engagement, we'll be able to make more calls and remind parents of these meetings that we have that are so important to bring the whole family in about everything that's going on.
Any questions?
Thank you. Thank you, Julio, Kathy, and Jessica for this presentation. Yes, Director Flores.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Just a couple. In terms of funding, how much funding does SRCS receive in terms of migrant ed? I didn't see those numbers in here. That's question number 1. I'm just going to ask all my questions, so because I think Director Sheffield has some questions too. And then 2, 235 students seems a little bit low in terms of students who are being identified as migrant ed. I know the qualification criteria is pretty stringent nowadays, but what sort of services are we doing to proactively make sure that students qualify for migrant ed? And those are my 2 questions.
Testing. Okay. Your first question was in regards to the amount of funding we receive. I don't have that figure with me at this time, but I would be glad to send that to the whole board as well as the superintendent. We have funding to support all of the different services that we've noted. And then Jessica's salary comes out of that, and a small percentage of our secretaries and my salary comes out of that.
Yes, and for the second part of the question, yes, it's very important that we collaborate with every single school in the district to identify the potential migrant students. I mean, since the pandemic, our numbers have been declining, and also I think the exodus of families from the county has affected the number of students in the program. But we are definitely going to reach out to the school principals and start asking for that collaboration so they can let us know for the names of the new students. That's the easiest way to identify new migrant students. So when they arrive into the school and they register, if they let us know, and then we ask the questions to see if they can qualify for the program. But yeah, and unfortunately also the transition from the old recruiter into the new one, the learning curve that it takes to learn the school district and get the contacts, and that has been also affecting the numbers. But yeah, they're in the lowest right now as they've ever been.
You have a follow-up question?
I'm just going to say that I think it's important for us to make sure that we do our best to make sure we identify students, because we're not only saying no to funding if students are not identified correctly in a timely manner, right? I mean, there's funding sources there for our students who may need those services. And I think it's a priority of this board to make sure that we proactively make sure that students are identified early on. So anything that you may need from this board, please, don't hesitate to reach out. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Director
Mar-
Flores. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Jessica.
May I add something to it? One thing that I noticed, and I'm still fairly new to my position, but there was a little bit of lack of education in terms of what the migrant program was. And so this year we made it a priority at the beginning of the school year to make a database, and we're actively uploading and updating it so that the school sites had a list of the students. And with the transition of Illuminate to Aries, we're also flagging our current students. And at the beginning of the year, I presented to our family engagement facilitators at each site so that they were aware of the program, so that as parents are coming in and registering the kids, they can also have that conversation and ask those questions. And then they are referring those students to us as well. And then, like Julian said, some families are leaving, or as you saw the criteria reclassification, some families unfortunately are not moving, and which is wonderful, right? Like there's a consistency there, but unfortunately because of that, they're also not requalifying for the program.
Thank you, Jessica. Director Sheffield, and then Director De La Cruz.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I just had a couple of questions. Jessica, you had talked about the after-school programs and how this had expanded participation. So I'm wondering, what does participation look like in numbers?
So currently we had around 48 students in the elementary who participated either virtually or in person. It would have been a smaller number if we wouldn't have done the virtual option.
Okay, and then are there any barriers to remote or online? Or I mean, do we have connectivity issues? Do we have timing hours issues? It could be a challenge. We know that's a challenge. I'm wondering if this is a challenge that the program is facing.
That is correct. Our teachers, the virtual teachers were very flexible. So they usually started around 4:30 so that it allowed parents time to pick up their kids, have some snacks. But what we did encounter was the difficulty of having a device at home or having the option of a Wi-Fi or a hotspot. And so I researched, and our Sonoma County Library did offer hotspots, but unfortunately that has become very popular. And our parent that did go and advocate for her student was told that she would have to go all the way to, I think it was Sacramento, where there was the nearest hotspot for her. So I think if we were able to provide that for our students and have maybe the capability of getting like even older Chromebooks for us to use, we'd appreciate that. That would help.
Personally, that's something that I would like us to look into, is how we can provide just the necessary tools to do this. We want to make sure that we're reaching all of the students. Definitely something for us to look into. The other question I had was around summer school. And how the summer school, I mean, are there, again, issues there around participation, any barriers? What are the biggest barriers? Seems like that we know, that summer school is such a great enriching program for all of our students, and we want to make sure that we're able to help eliminate barriers.
Well, we had 54 out of the 68 students that we were invited to attend summer school show up. I think one of the wonderful things about our district that they provided transportation. So students were picked up in the morning for our district regular summer school, and then the students stayed behind, and then transportation was provided after. And also on the one day that we did a whole day of summer school, also our district provided transportation. So that actually was a great support for us.
I was
Kathy, I don't know if you
tiptoeing
wanna add
around
to
the
that.
transportation issue, and I was wondering if that was a barrier or a challenge. And
I think if we,
if
if we didn't have the support of the district, that would have been a big burden for our program, especially for our DSA, because a lot of the budget is divided into our different programs.
Hey, all right. Well, thank you. That's all the questions I have.
Thank you, Director De La Cruz.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I'm curious if we have any specific outreach that's done to Indigenous language speaking farm workers in our district. We know that our county has an increasing number of people who speak pre-Columbian languages, and those communities can tend to be more isolated than Spanish speaking or mestizo farm workers. And so I'm just wondering if we have any specific efforts, tools, or connectivity to Indigenous language speaking community-based organizations to reach those populations.
So what I understand your question to be is, are there any extra efforts towards the low incidence populations where they're not Spanish speaking? Is that correct?
How did you describe them? You said the what populations?
Technology.
Could you please repeat that?
Sure. So in our county, we have a significant number of farm workers who speak Indigenous languages, especially like Mixteco, Chatino, Triqui, Zapoteco, Mixteco. So I'm just wondering if we have any particular efforts to reach that population or those populations, which can tend to be more insular and more isolated as a result of their language, and also of discrimination by mestizo Spanish-speaking farm workers. And so I'm just wondering if we have any particular efforts towards those populations.
In response to your question, yes, we do. And the multilingual department, as well as the student and family engagement department, and we are working to increase efforts to be able to reach out to those low incidence populations. For example, we have some Ukrainian and many Eritrean and some Haitian, and we are planning a parent and family engagement meeting just with those low incidence language populations. So that collaboration is happening. It's happening between, as again, safe, multilingual, and state and federal.
Did that answer your question, Director De La Cruz?
Yeah, I think there are some excellent community-based organizations on the ground that do beautiful advocacy and cultural supports to populations who are Indigenous language speaking. And so I would recommend that outside of kind of the state and, state structures, that there are ways to do additional layers of outreach here locally with the cultural wealth that many of these CBOs bring to our district.
That is something that the multilingual department is responsible for and does a lot to be able to do outreach and connect with those families. That is not as much as state and federal, although we have been engaged.
Director Fong?
Thank you so much for the report. And this may be for another time, another report, but I'm wondering on the efficacy of the programs, the data, the evidence in terms of how our migrant ed kids are doing with all these great programs and initiatives, and where they started from and where they're ending in the year or over years, the mobility rate, just besides the numbers, also because we're talking about integrated programs. It's not just, they're not just in migrant ed. I'm sure there's somewhere in the MTSS system, different things. And so in terms of policy, I'm thinking, how can we best support these kids? And we don't know if we don't have any data on how they're doing. So could be another report. Thank you. Thank you, Jessica.
And I think, if I may speak to that, I think we started that kind of in the future tracking piece. We're also adding and flagging our students in Elevations, which is the software that the multilingual department uses. And so I think that will give us more data in terms of how our students are progressing and doing throughout the years. We just started that recently, so stay tuned.
Thank you all for your presentation and for your work. Oh, I'm sorry, Director Medina.
Thank you. I wanted to go back to Mini-Core. I think you said there was, 3 students working in Santa Rosa City Schools and that there's still a search for more. I'm just wondering how many slots or positions are there, and indicating kind of what's the void, kind of what's the impact of not having all those positions filled.
All right, I got it. Yeah, California Minicorp hires like between 15 and 20 tutors per site. And here in Sonoma State, we used to have those numbers in the past, but unfortunately they had a really hard time hiring a coordinator. And finally this year they have a full-time coordinator. Her name is Irma Roman. She's a former Cali Calmeca teacher, and she's doing a fantastic job reaching out to students that are interested in becoming teachers. And so far, she only has like 5 of them. 3 of them working in Santa Rosa City Schools, and 2 of them working at Roseland. And she continues doing outreach at the JC and also Sonoma State. So hopefully by the end of the school year, she'll have a full load of tutors.
And the other question was around the, I think Director Sheffield asked about this, the face-to-face and the Zoom interventions. I believe there was the number given of like 48 for, I think it was like the elementary level students. Is there any secondary student interaction? And so how many?
It was, I'm sorry, for interventions this fall it was offered kinder through 8th grade as our interventions. And then once we moved to high school, it's more case management and then credit recovery. So we did have one virtual teacher that supported us for 7th grade intervention. And she had around, we invited 15 students. Out of those 15 students, consistently only 5 went. Some of them, and some of the issues they have is they're playing sports. They have to support with caring of younger siblings. And then that connectivity piece, it was a struggle for some of them. One of those parents for the hotspot was a parent of a 7th grader.
And then finally, I was just going to ask, can we make sure we get a copy of the presentation for the minutes? And final question would be anything that you feel that we as a district could do better?
We would be glad to provide that to you all. Thank you for your time. So ends our presentation.
Thank you so much for your time. We will be moving on to our E items this evening. Our first item is E1, Career Technical Education Update. This is a discussion item. The board will receive an update on career technical education programs, which will include CTE program offerings, career technical student organizations, work-based learning, and industry and post-secondary partnerships. And presenting this discussion item are Dr. Castro, Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services, Tim Zolonardo, Executive Director, Educational Services, and Debbie Cardozo, Director of Educational Services.
There you go. All right, perfect. Thank you. Good evening, President Minari, congratulations, Superintendent Trinnell, and members of the board. Tonight, I am very pleased to be providing an update on our CTE programs. There we go. So I thought I'd first start off with laying the foundation of what a CTE program is. Again, a program of study involves a multi-year sequence of courses that ultimately integrates core academic knowledge with technical and occupational knowledge to provide our students with a pathway to not only post-secondary education, but future careers. On the screen, you see the 12 essential elements of a high-quality program. This is really guiding our work in CTE. In your board agenda, there's a description of each of these elements in more detail. Annually, our CTE programs do a self-review, and they ultimately create goals based on their self-review data and request funding to support meeting those goals for the year. We rely heavily on grant funding to support our programs. So Perkins 5 is a federal grant that we apply for annually. We also apply for CTE incentive grant dollars. We just received preliminary notification yesterday that we will be awarded $675,193 in our last round. And I was very excited to get that announcement yesterday, and that goes to the state board for approval in January. So we're looking forward to receiving that funding to help support the work in CTE. We annually apply for the agricultural CTE incentive grant. And it's important to note that both the CTE incentive grant and the ag incentive grant require matching funds from the district. The CTIG or the CTE incentive grant requires a 2-to-1 match. So every dollar that we get from the state, we're required to match it with $2. And then for ag incentive, it's a 1-to-1 match. We are rounding out our K-12 Strong Workforce grant that ends actually this month, which was a consortium with SCO. And we also receive a lot of support, as you know, from the CTE Foundation of Sonoma County throughout the school district. Reflected on the screen, are our CTE programs. Santa Rosa City Schools offers a variety of CTE programs to ensure that students are meeting
the workforce needs of local and regional employers, to support relevant and meaningful learning opportunities for students, and again, to prepare students for post-secondary education and careers. It's important to note that there are a variety of programs offered throughout our district. However, some of them look similar, but they're specialized in the courses that they offered. And attached in the agenda is a summary of the courses offered in each program. And an example of that is agriculture at LC Allen High School versus agriculture at Santa Rosa High School. So at LC Allen, they have an agriculture mechanics focus, whereas at Santa Rosa High School, as many of you all saw recently, have school farm and viticulture and floriculture. And so there's a little bit of diversity, even though they look very similar on the screen. You'll also notice that two of the programs have a little asterisk next to their program name. Although these programs are district recognized CTE programs, they are unfortunately not eligible for the federal and state CTE grant funding that I just shared with you in the previous screen due to the teachers not having the appropriate CTE credentials. So that's something that I'll talk a little bit more about later on in my presentation. You'll also note that we have a new program, the Construction Engineering and Design program at Pioneer High School. Essentially, I helped the site redesign their Project Make courses so they align to the building and construction trades industry sector, which is a high need for our area. But we also incorporated the engineering focus given the STEM focus of the school. The next slide is actually an amended slide, so I wanted to bring that to your attention. I added some additional data related to our programs. And so I amended the slide, and you'll see to add a percentage of total school enrollment when looking at our enrollment overall in CTE. Compared to last year, we saw an increase in the overall enrollment, with the greatest increase being at LC Allen High School. They were able to expand the number of CTE courses offered. So they offered an additional public safety section as well as 2 more agriculture sections. So 2 of their agriculture teachers are actually at a 1.2 this year FTE. So that was really great to see that we could expand CTE at that site. You'll also notice that I included a link, and I have a hard copy of the data also available, but I included some enrollment trend data for you. And I pulled this data using our student information system on the first Wednesday of October, which is Census Day. And you'll see I have data from the last 2 years. And my intent is to pull some more data. I'm going to need to dig a little bit deeper, but I wanted to just show all of you here tonight just some data just over the last 2 years since I've returned to the position as the CTE director for our district. And I'll be talking to some of the data points that you'll see on the screen. But if you notice, just kind of looking initially, something you might note, which I noticed when I came back, is we have some pretty strong introduction and concentrator courses, those first 2 in a 3-course sequence, if you will. But then when we get down to the capstone course, we have lower enrollment. And so we're working towards addressing that, which I'm going to, again, talk to you about later on in the presentation. And again, this new slide deck will be shared, so it'll be available in the meeting minutes when you receive them as well. We are very excited to have career technical student organizations as a valuable component in our CTE program. So again, we have strong FFA programs at LC Allen and Santa Rosa High School. We have a strong FCCLA, or Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America organization at Pioneer High School in the culinary program, Skills USA at Santa Rosa and Maria Carrillo High School. And then Montgomery High School is actually exploring offering a Future Business Leaders of America CTSO in their business program. We are constantly working on increasing our partnerships, ultimately to support providing great programs for our students. And so we've continued with the Pioneer High STEM Certificate Program, which is ultimately an agreement with Sonoma State University in the Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics Department. From 2015 to 22, we've had 711 students complete a STEM certificate at Pioneer High School, and certain students that earn the STEM certificate and meet the admission requirement to SSU get priority admission to a non-impacted major at the School of Science and Technology at Sonoma State, which is a great partnership to have for our students and really aligns with the mission and vision of Pioneer High School. With the Santa Rosa Junior College, last year we established an articulation agreement in the area of agriculture. 18 students in the floriculture course at Santa Rosa High School earned a grade A or B on the credit by exam process through that articulation. So they earned college credit while in one of our high school CTE courses. This year, I'm excited to report that we have maintained that articulation agreement and also have 2 new articulation agreements, one in the area of manufacturing and one in the area of automotive. And we are in the process of expanding again in agriculture in the area of animal science. We have a new partnership that we established last year through the North Bay Trades Introduction Program to offer the Women in Construction Camp this summer as an extended learning opportunity. And tonight there's a contract in the consent portion of the agenda for your consideration to offer another camp this spring. So they were pleased with our partnership in the summer, and they approached me recently and said, hey, we have some additional grant funding. We would love to partner with you again and offer something in the spring. Their grant ends in March, and so that's why we're offering it looking at January, February, in that time frame. Again, as I mentioned, we have a wonderful partnership with the CTE Foundation of Sonoma County. They help fund switch electrical vehicles so to provide our teachers training to include that component in their curriculum. Again, the new school model support that we receive at Elsion High School is tremendous, and you'll be hearing a little bit more about that in the January board meetings. I'm looking forward to sharing that update with you. Something I'm really excited about is the Sonoma Core program. You guys might have saw the article in the Press Democrat about that, but we're piloting a new approach to the program here in Santa Rosa City Schools. So last year we offered that program through the College and Career Center after school. This year I was able to work with the school site to offer that program, which we embedded it into a Stats for Social Justice course in an effort to connect math concepts to real world applications. And so I'm really excited about that because ultimately it's helping bring math to life. And so I can't wait to see the outcomes of that program after the end of the school year. One of the focus areas that we were working on starting last year was increasing our industry certifications that students earned while they were in our programs. And last year we had OSHA, CPR, first aid, food handlers, and Serve Safe. And we expanded this year to offer additional food handlers and OSHA certifications in additional programs. And we added the National Center for Construction Education and Research, there we go, certifications in the construction program at Montgomery as well. So I'm excited about the additional recognitions that our students are earning while in our programs. And I'm really excited to share with you an update on work-based learning. So we have been working really hard since last year to develop a vision for work-based learning in Santa Rosa City Schools, solid scope and sequence, teacher resources, and have been participating in professional development to ultimately share with you tonight what you see on the screen, which is our scope and sequence and our definition of work-based learning, or we also like to refer to it as career-connected learning. I want to also publicly acknowledge Jessica Fruitt, Donna Fernandez, Catherine Payne, and Trish Terrell that are .2 CTE TOSAs at 4 of our comprehensive school sites, as well as Lauren Lioto, who is our full-time CTE TOSA at Elsion High School. And they've been working on this with me. We shared it with our advisory committee, our CTE advisory committee at our last meeting last month, so the 30th of November. They loved it. They were incredibly excited about it. And we're excited to really start to bring it to life. So now that we have like a definition and a scope and sequence, and there's the experiences outlined in your board agenda, we're just excited to just really look at implementing it. I do want to share with you, it's important to note that it's a continuum. So if you were to think about it as career awareness, maybe like a 9th grade career exploration, and kind of look at it linear that way, I want to say that a student would not only get a career awareness, like a guest speaker experience in 9th grade. They're going to continue to get those types of experiences throughout their continuum with us in Santa Rosa City Schools. And then the career training component of the scope and sequence is really after students have had these types of experiences leading up to an internship or an apprenticeship or work experience. I do also want to note that these are experiences. And so we understand that students need to be prepared to participate in these experiences, and there also needs to be follow-up after. And so that's where the lesson plans that we have started developing as resources for teachers come into play to ultimately make sure that students are prepared and reflecting, and that there's coherence in how we do this work district-wide. So I'm really excited about this. And again, you'll be learning more about this when we present our update on the new school model at LC Allen High School. I could talk all night about this. I'm also excited to share that last year I reinstated our district CTE advisory committee. The committee's purpose is to strengthen CTE programs throughout the district. One thing I would like to do though is I want to add students. Students are not reflected on the screen, although we have a wide variety of folks that are willing and able and ready to work with us. We need students. And so I'm working with the CTE department chairs to identify students from their career technical student organizations to participate on our committee. So more to come with that. We've been focusing on work-based learning, and as I shared, they were very excited about our continuum. And what I shared with them also at our last meeting is a form that we developed to ultimately solicit partnerships throughout the committee or throughout the community. And the committee gave us some feedback on that. So we're going to finalize that and push that out as a mechanism to solicit support to ultimately bring the work-based learning scope and sequence I just shared with you to life. Another important outcome out of that meeting is they want to do an orientation for people out in the community to let them know what we're doing in work-based learning so folks can understand and before they even commit about all the different experiences that we want our students to participate in, and also get some support and how to partner with us. And so I'm looking forward to rolling that out in the spring. The reflections and next steps. So we're going to continue to review existing and explore the development of new CTE course offerings. You'll notice when we reviewed the CTE enrollment trends that I shared earlier that the capstone courses, as I mentioned, had low enrollment. So there are various factors that contribute to a student's ability to access CTE, such as credit recovery needs, ALD, and graduation requirements, to name a few. One way we are looking at addressing this is shifting to a 2-course sequence next year for some of our programs. And I'm also working with some of our sites to redesign their course offerings. In terms of expansion, I've met with Ridgeway to explore offering a CTE program at their site recently, and have been exploring the development of CTE courses at the middle school level, because it's too late for students to start in high school, figuring out what they want to do. So we need to start earlier, and so they can make an informed decision when deciding what CTE programs to participate in when they get up to high school. So one of the challenges, though, that we're having as we're looking at expanding is the credentialing, which, as I mentioned earlier, impacts the program's availability to access the state and federal dollars if the teacher doesn't have the appropriate CTE credential. So I've been working with sites to access local grant funding, which is more flexible to secure funds to start up new courses. Unfortunately, though, this doesn't guarantee long-term stability of the programs due to the lack of unidentified funds. And so that's something we're having to kind of figure out. We also want to increase the number of A through G CTE courses. So currently, 60% of our courses meet the CSU UC entrance requirements. Most of our courses fall in the area of G, which is the elective. And so I'm working with sites to increase A through G approval for our courses. We also need to consider systems and structures to expand work-based learning opportunities, which we're excited about. And as I mentioned, currently we have CTE TOSA support, but these positions are all grant funded. The position at LC is the 1.0, as I mentioned, which is funded through the ARPA grant, the American Rescue Plan grant through the CTE Foundation, and then the 0.2s at the other comprehensive sites are CTE incentive grant funded. And what's interesting about the way funding works is that the position at LC Allen High School enables the CTE TOSA to work with all students to support work-based learning. But the way that the other positions are funded the work-based learning coordinators or the CT TOSAs can only work with CTE program students. And so they're not able to provide those work-based learning supports to all kids, like which would be the ideal. So again, the key point to focus on is the restricted use of grant funds we're utilizing for these positions, which again is not a guaranteed. I'll keep writing grants and I will hope to secure them, but we can't always guarantee that. But I do want to say I understand that there are limited district resources. And so we'll have to look closer at how we can create systems and structures to support work-based learning as an instructional strategies to ultimately provide these opportunities for all kids. I also want to continue to focus on expanding CTE promotion outreach efforts. So you saw the CTE flipbook that we created last year. It's on the district website. CTE teachers are doing outreach to feeder patterns. I'm very excited. We're rewrapping the food truck. And so I can't wait to unveil that. It's going to be rebranded. It's exciting. So like look for that in the near future. And so that's not only an instructional tool, but also another way that we market our programs and get what we're doing out there in the public. We're constantly looking at ways to promote and build awareness of these programs that they ultimately prepare students for college, career, and life. And in closing, on this slide, I included a picture from the ribbon cutting last month for the new Santa Rosa High School barn for the agriculture program, which was destroyed in the 2017 fires. And I thought that it was appropriate because although there are a lot of areas of growth and a lot of things that we're working on, there's a lot to be proud of and to celebrate in CTE. And so I just wanted to thank all of you for your continued support and for the district for the continued support. And then also our partners and the community members that are watching for believing in our CTE programs and helping support them being offered for our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Cardozo, for your thorough update. Do we have any questions from the board? Director Flores?
Thank you for your thorough presentation once again. And let's see, in terms, I might have missed this information, but one is a comment, and we're all very data driven here, and you gave us a lot of numbers in today's presentations, right? So, and I know it's going to be in our minutes. So, but is there any way that we can have that information ahead of time? Okay, and then two, I mean, you mentioned something that resonated with me, which is opportunity for all students, right? That is at the core of what we must do. I did notice that Ridgeway High School doesn't participate in any sort of CTE engagement, right? So another continuation school, right? And in order to become a completer sort of, pathway, it's difficult for a continuation school to do that. But what sort of things can we do to make sure students who traditionally speaking haven't done well at a comprehensive high school have access to courses that may be an incentive to come to school?
Tricky. Yes, absolutely. I completely agree. And we met last week to talk about establishing a CTE program at Ridgeway High School. And to be perfectly honest, that's new for me because we typically establish them at a comprehensive school site. And so I've reached out to the state to get some guidance on how we can do that. So because we want to do it correctly, again, so they could access the state and federal grant funding that comes with our CTE program. So those conversations are beginning 100%. And so, and what's been unfortunate too, because they don't have a CTE program at their school site, I haven't been able to leverage CTE grant dollars to provide a CTE TOSA to support work-based learning. And so that has definitely been a challenge, but I am exploring ways to get around that currently. Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I missed it, but did you give us the information in terms of program completers or pathway completers?
I'm inclined to use my teacher voice. I did not include that in the data, but I can certainly get that to the board. No problem. Mhm.
Thank you. Are there other questions? Director McNally?
Thank you for the presentation. I'm just curious and I would like more information maybe in the future about English learner participation in the CTE programs. I believe you had a percentage, 8% are participating. And I'd just be curious how many of those are being successful in CTE programs and if there are any barriers. For example, if our CTE teachers are comfortable with using integrated ELD methods, or if there's any support that the program needs so that English learners can participate and succeed.
Absolutely. I provided a snapshot of the district data overall, but I can definitely provide in the future additional information specifically pertaining to your request.
Thank you. Director Medina and then Director Fong.
Thank you. Two things. It really went really fast, so I don't know if I missed it, but in terms of like future development, I don't see too much in terms of like computer science and things of that nature. I feel there's a big need for it. Is there stuff in development or can we look at more of that?
Yes, you are correct. We don't currently have a computer science focus. We used to have a program at Pioneer High School and that it just didn't take off for whatever reason. So that is definitely something that we could explore. We have a business program at Montgomery High School, and so I would say that would probably be the closest. What we are also exploring too, related to that, is how we can look at our existing courses and incorporate more technology and things of that nature as well already into what we have existing, because we know, as you've mentioned, that's a need. But that doesn't mean that we are or we can't offer something in the future. So thank you for that.
Thank you. And then, I just, I see things like the Google Career Certificates, which I think you could start at 16. And I know language, I think, is really big thing for us. And I don't know, I'd be curious if translation is a CT thing could be something that we could also start, investigating and looking into. Thank you.
Director Fong.
Thank you, Debbie. I want to, and thank you for the additional data that you provided. I want to hone in and zone in a little bit on credentialing and where we are in terms of a district to help people get credentialed. Is it a choice? Is it a mandate? Is it part of their job? Do we pay for it? I hope we do. If it's keeping us out of funding, like geospatial technology, for example, what is our policy as a district? Because I know we have designated subject credentialing right now, and it's an extra thing for people, but that's the question.
Great question. Anytime that somebody expresses an interest in getting their CT credential, I connect them to the Sonoma County Office of Education, and they guide them through the process to secure preliminary, oftentimes designated CTE credential. Essentially, it's verifying that they have some sort of industry experience that they can add this credential onto their existing credentials that they have. It's a challenge. And so as we're looking at developing new programs, that's the first question I ask: who's going to teach it? Do you have somebody in mind? And so a kind of side story, we're looking at developing a health science program at Elsion High School, and it worked out that there's a Spanish teacher that has industry background in that area. And so I've been working with her and SCO to have her secure her designated CTE credential. And so that just worked out. We've been able to utilize some funding through the Effective Educator Grant to help support that particular school site because of the new school model work. So that teacher, we can help support them with getting their credential. However, currently right now, we don't have any other, that I am aware of, any other incentives or mechanisms to support teachers with getting their CTE credential. So it would be something definitely worth exploring because I know, I mean, the Ridgeway, Ridgeway High School and the Santa Rosa Middle School that I met with last week, and I met with Santa Rosa High School also this week, and they all want to look at adding more CT programs or diversifying, and that's always something that we run up against is, okay, do the teachers have the correct credential? And if they don't, can they? And would they be willing to do that? So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. So certainly there's some room there that we need to explore in terms of policy and who we need for teaching. And I know it's very complex, very complex. The second question is about the A to G courses. And you said 60% of them are A to G. Are we moving? Is that needle moving?
Anytime we talk to, or I talk to a school site about offering a new program, like for example, the Pioneer High that we transitioned from Project Make to the Construction Engineering and Design program, both those courses are A through G approved. And so a G elective. And so that to me is a requirement. So as we move forward and looking at redesigning, like for example, the programs at Elsie Allen High School, okay, so what courses are A through G approved and how do we move in that direction? So yeah, absolutely, that's something that we talked about at our CTE department chair meeting this past month. And so that's definitely a direction that we're going, and I'm working with teachers to help support.
And what is alarming to me is the data about who's enrolled in CTE. And if we're looking at who's enrolled in CTE, unduplicated pupil count pretty high, 48%. Latino, 53.9%. Over enrolled, I think, in CTE. And if they are not A to G courses, there's a gap there, right? Yeah. And last question, where are we on, I don't know, is it co-enrollment or with the JC with?
Are you thinking dual enrollment?
Dual enrollment JC for CTE.
Yeah. So right now our focus has been primarily on articulation agreements. And so it's students that are in a current CTE course taught by our Santa Rosa City Schools teacher, working with the JC to determine if their curriculum is similar enough to where our teacher can offer the credit by exam process to where students can earn college credit while being taught by our teachers. We currently don't have any dual enrollment opportunities. The only model that we had previously was at Marie Carrillo High School. And what was nice about that is that instructor was also an SRJC instructor. So he was able to teach his curriculum within the school day. So there are opportunities to explore that I've been working with the JC to offer maybe after school opportunities for our students. But I would really like to see us explore during the school day, similar to what that Korea model was a few years back. So some conversations are beginning, but we're more focused right now on articulation agreements.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board? Okay, we'll move on to public comment. I don't see any blue cards, so we'll move on to our virtual attendees.
There are members of the public joining us on Zoom and would like to comment on item E1. This is the discussion on the Career Technical Education Program. Please raise your hand at this time. Linda Allen, your hand has been raised for a while. Would you like to comment on this agenda item? Linda, if you're there and you would like to unmute and comment, please do so. President Manieri, I don't see any other hands raised.
Okay, thank you. We will bring this back to the board for further discussion. Are there any additional comments from our board members? And Director Sheffield.
I just want to say one thing. I really do love the added data. It kind of does show that you guys are making effort. The breakdown in the demographics is a really nice. For me, it speaks for itself. Just want to appreciate that. Appreciate you for hearing us and knowing that we're data driven. So thank you.
I would also like to emphasize the data piece. I think in the next update, I would personally really love to see a little bit more about how we're evaluating these programs and how we're collecting the data, not just to understand who these programs are serving and who's enrolled, but it really struck me how much of these programs are grant funded. And I know that just funding programs from grants, it's not sustainable, but if you have good data and a good evaluation plan, you can go really far. So I would really love to see that information. Thank you again for your presentation. We really appreciate your time. And we're going to move on to item E2, first reading of updated board policy 1312.3, uniform complaint procedures. This is a discussion item. The board will discuss the proposed revisions to the board policy addressing uniform complaint procedures recommended by the California School Boards Association. This is the first reading of proposed board policy 1312.3, which includes updates that accurately reflect current state and federal law. Recommendations to board policy 1312.3 have been made by CSBA Policy Services. And presenting this discussion item is Assistant Superintendent Mike Shepard.
Thank you, President Manieri, members of the board, Superintendent Trinnell, Santa Rosa City's community. This update to our uniform complaint procedures policy was brought to light out of our federal program monitoring review. And so these updates will bring us in line and keep us compliant. And I also want to point out that we discovered that our Spanish version of the uniform complaint form is not as accessible as it needs to be. So we're glad we reviewed this, and we're going to take steps to get that properly translated and put next to the English version so that it's very accessible to our community. So like you said, this is a first reading. This will come back to you in January for action. So with that, I'll entertain any questions that you have.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the board? Okay, no questions. We'll move to public comment. Do we have any virtual attendees who would like to speak on this item?
If there are members of the public joining us on Zoom and would like to comment on item E2, first read of updated board policy 1312.3, please raise your hand at this time. Our first speaker is Maura Ryan Donahue. You have a 2-minute time limit. Thank you.
Thank you. I have read over the proposed UCP and everything looks in order, except for a question I'd like to pose to you. What are the follow-up procedures for when this policy is not followed? I am a parent of a student who was discriminated against by their teacher and principal due to their disabilities. As a parent, I followed all the proper procedures, attempting to set up a meeting with the principal who refused to meet with me, and writing an email and letter to my child's special education program manager, the director of special services, the coordinator of the SAFE program, and the superintendent of schools. No one responded. I scheduled an appointment with the director of special services only to have him cancel the appointment. Eventually, the principal and the director of special services made an offer to resolve the issue, but in turn, it only served to allow the teacher to further discriminate, harass, and bully my child due to their disability in front of their peers and other parents. In my letter, the director of special services, which was also CC'd to the director of human resources, I specifically asked for help in filing a formal complaint. I was never offered a follow-up meeting or even a phone call to discuss the complaint. I requested a restorative practices circle, but in the end, it was no benefit to my child because the district gave the abusive teacher and principal the option to not attend. To this day, my daughter continues to be seriously impacted by this betrayal from a once beloved teacher. There's been no attempt by the district to make this right for my child of their own accord or to hold those accountable. No UPC complaint filed to my knowledge, and although the rest of her peers graduated 2.5 years ago, my child is still struggling to simply trust teachers with whom she works. The UCP weren't followed in our case. Was that because it was the conduct of a teacher and principal that was at issue? So what should happen when there was a request for UPC and it never happened? Are there consequences? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Donahue.
Thank you.
President
Bringing- I'm sorry, are there more public comments?
Okay. President Manieri, there are no other hands raised.
Okay, thank you. Bringing this back to the board for further discussion. Okay, thank you, Director Shepherd, for your time. We look forward to seeing this again. And we will be moving on to our next agenda item, E3, 2022-2023 first interim budget report. This is an action item. The board will consider approval of the 2022-23 first interim report with qualified certification. And presenting this action item are Lisa Kevin, our Associate Superintendent, and Joel Dantos, Executive Director of Fiscal Services.
Thank you, President Manieri. It'll take us just a moment to get set up for the screen share, and then we'll present. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present the SRCS 22-23 first interim budget presentation. I'd like to start by thanking all of you for your service and congratulations on all of your new roles. Also like to thank Joel Dantos and our team for their diligent work in bringing forward this report tonight. Our presentation will cover a quick overview, some budget assumptions, an overview of our general fund multi-year projection, a recap of our other funds, some areas to monitor, and then our next steps. Something that I want to make sure that we are all have the same understanding of is the annual budget cycle. Again, it is a cycle. It's driven by the local control accountability plan. That's where our original budget is developed. And then it's adjusted throughout the year based on the information that comes to us and that changes. So we are currently at first interim. So this is our activity from July through October. And then our next steps will be for the governor's budget proposal when we'll see updated COLA numbers. So the numbers that we present tonight are based on the state adopted budget, which is what we are required to use for the first interim reporting. We'll still have several opportunities to revise before the end of the year. Again, just a recap that July 1 through October 31st, and the next cycle will cover through January 31st in March. We are self-certifying as qualified based on the information that we have as of the time that the budget interim report is prepared. This may be updated at second interim depending on what the actual governor's proposal comes forward with for the COLA, as well as other factors internal to our specific budget and changes that we see coming down the pike in legislation and the economy.
Thanks, Lisa. Good evening, President Mariani, Superintendent Tranel. Thanks for having me here tonight. I'll go through the quick budget assumptions that are included in this first interim report. So one major assumption is our funding is based on our average daily attendance, which is based on our enrollment, and the assumptions we're using at first interim are the assumptions that were provided at the data study session. Those were projections for this year. As we move into second interim, we'll follow those up with the certified student data numbers and have more information on that. That was for the district schools, not including the charter schools or our county office of education schools, and here for the charter schools. Moving on to the budget assumptions. So as CBO Cavan mentioned, COLA is an assumption, and we used our the state enacted budget COLA factors. I will add that with the governor's act and budget, the Department of Finance issues cost of living adjustment COLA. Then each November, the Legislative Analyst's Office, who is the legislators' fiscal advisor, issues their fiscal outlook report. And as well as our County Office of Education, SCO, issues their first interim suggestion report, along with the all the chief business officials for the County Office of Education around the state have a committee that issues a common message. So we used the information in the common message and the school services, and the Sonoma County Office of Education report, which used the enacted state budget Department of Finance for COLA. The Legislative Analyst's Office did come out in November with their report for the legislature, which did indicate a COLA of 8.73% in 23-24 and 5.3% in 24-25. You can see that's different from our COLA. Now, one thing that the LOA's report did say, the LOA's report was based on economic factors, and they created their fiscal outlook. The economic indicators were about 75% complete through November, approximately. However, in the LOA's recommendation to education, they recommended reducing the COLA below the 8.73%. Our assumptions we're in line with Sonoma County Office of Education, the state common message from all the county office of education, and the enacted budget. We do look forward to the governor's January budget proposal coming out by June 10th, and putting those into the second intro. And then our CalSTRS and CalPERS assumptions continue at the rate that we're at the adopted budget. So now we'll look at our general fund. The general fund and the first interim report compares revenues over expenditures and resulting surplus or deficit, and then our reserves. All California school districts use the California prescribed standard account code structures, where we take many account codes for all expenditures and revenues, code those, and then those are allowed to roll up into summary areas for revenues and expenditures to analyze our current budget. As you can see, this slide shows where we were at our adopted budget and compared to first interim where those revenues are at. If you recall, since our adopted budget, we had our 45-day budget update that we mentioned that show the factors, and I'll kind of go over some of those details that shared at the 45-day revise. So two major areas were at budget adoption was based on the governor's May revise, and that included some fairly large, significant discretionary one-time money, about $1,500 per ADA, that did not end up making it into the enacted state budget. That's why under this other state revenue category, you see a reduction in that projected revenue of close to $14 million. However, with the 45-day revise in the enacted state budget, they increased the COLA in the 3 years. So this current year, 22, 23, 20, and the 2 future years. So where we lost about $17 million in current year in state one-time money, we kind of made up for that in the 3-year increase to COLA. So expenditures, since the adopted budget, we've had settlements with our classified, unrepresented management, scheduled, certificated, and classified management. And you see those increase to expenditures. And we had a number of categorical programs. You know, one thing I forgot to mention about the revenue real quick, you can see increased revenue. We also increased revenues for state and federal categorical programs like the migrant ed program that we just talked about. And that migrant ed funding is it's actually a federal fund. So our revenue is based on our expenditures, and we spend annually about a little over $200,000 in that. I think our allocation is close to 300. So that's roughly the amount. Last year we spent a little over 200,000. So again, expenditures, we had a settlement with our employee groups and some categorical budgets, expenditures budgeted. So now we've gone over current year revenues, expenditures with first interim. You can see here's our multi-year projection. So every financial report is current year plus 2 future years. So we've got some assumptions included in here as well. We have our prior year approved fiscal stabilization plan. We have our assumptions for some one-time arts and music and recovery block grant. And then we have some future unidentified fiscal stabilization measures of the roughly a little over $5.1 million in the third year, 24-25. Because of that third year unidentified fiscal stabilization measures, that is what is contributing towards us self-certifying as qualified. So with that, here's our ending reserves, current reserve status. So we've got the components of our reserves are we've got some restricted reserves, which is our categorical federal and state funding that's restricted towards specific expenditures. That's a lot of our remaining COVID funding, our some, like, for example, the educator effectiveness grant money, and so on. Then we were required to meet our 3% reserve for economic uncertainty. So you can see this is our line for economic uncertainty. And then what's left over above that is our unassigned unappropriated ending balance. You can see that we are maintaining a 3% when we find that a little over $5 million in the third year to meet our 3%. And on the last line, I'd like to note that that is our total unrestricted reserve percent, as instead of our unassigned unappropriated ending balance. Is that okay? So with that, that is kind of our financial picture, and I'll pass back over to Lisa.
And before we continue, excuse me, we need a motion to extend the meeting. Director Flores.
Just to be clear, we are qualified, even though
Sorry, Director Flores, I was looking for a motion to extend.
I'd like to move to, I'd like to move to extend the meeting
Thank you,
to
Director.
10:30.
10:30? Thank you. Seconded by Director Sheffield. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Okay, thank you. We can continue. 11? Well, we just voted. Let's try to get out of here by 10:30. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for the extension. Try to make the last part a little quicker for us. So just a quick overview of the fiscal stabilization plan process. And really, these are conversations that need to be had regardless of whether we're qualified or positive. It's really about creating a sustainable program and sustainable staffing so that we're able to provide quality programs long-term to address the needs of all students. And so it's really important that we continue those conversations. We did have one scheduled for December, and unfortunately with the holidays, we weren't able to really get a quorum of our group. We are scheduled for January 26th, at which time the governor's budget will already be out. We'll be able to have those discussions and bring an informed recommendation forward as to whether we would be implementing or recommending an implementation of reduction in future years. So we do have time, but it is an important conversation to make sure that we're having on a regular basis. Okay, and just a quick note, we do expect that all funds will have a positive balance at the end of the year. If anybody has specific questions about particular funds, happy to answer those as to what each of these funds are restricted for. This is funds aside from our general operating budget. And again, areas that we need to monitor, the state and national economy, there are mixed signals as to whether there will be a recession or there won't. And the timing of that, it looks like from indicators, it won't happen probably until towards the end of 23, but you never know. It depends on if the Federal Reserve overcorrects with rate increases. Other areas we need to keep an eye on are a shortage of teachers, substitutes, nutritional services, classified, other staff. Employee negotiations always have an impact, and we need to balance making sure that we are appropriately maintaining our salary schedules with also being able to staff our classrooms and maintain those programs for students. We're not sure about education funding in California. Right now, it looks like they will be pulling money out of the rainy day fund for us to be able to maintain that COLA that's projected. And of course, we are right now experiencing declining enrollment, and that is as a state. So it's not just Santa Rosa City Schools. This is common to all districts or to most districts in the state. And it's a common issue that we're looking at together. We do need to make sure that we are monitoring our dependent charter schools for their fiscal solvency and paying attention to the cost of the universal transitional kindergarten program and potential changes in the expanded learning opportunities program. The legislature has signaled that they do believe it may have been over allocated. So that is something that we need to keep in mind as we're moving forward. Just keep our eyes on that. Our next steps, kind of gone over this a little bit, so I'll be brief. Governor's budget report, our audit report, our budget advisory committee, all informs our second interim report in March. We continue with our budget advisory committee, and then the governors may revise, so changes based on information between January and May. And then you'll have the governor and the legislature negotiating their budget through June, at which time we will be adopting our budget before they've given us the actual fiscal factors for the year. There are questions from our board?
Thank you. And it looks like we do have some questions. Director Flores?
Thank you, President Manieri. So quickly, if you can explain how are we qualified, even if we end up with a balance of 3% for the next 3 years of our unrestricted reserves?
Sorry about that. I'm sorry, were you asking if, yes, we will be able to meet our 3% reserve? Yes, assuming that we make the reductions in the third year, the 5.142 million.
And then, and this is also not taken into consideration the legislative analyst proposal of 8.38, I think it is, right? Okay. Now, what about Prop 28? I didn't see anything in terms of that. I mean, that's a 1% increase to a total budget for the 23-24 school year.
Yes, that is correct. That would be additional funds, but it can't be used to supplant. So we can't use it to provide services that we already have in place. We're actually required to add, and 80% is required to be spent on staffing, 20% for maybe used for materials and supplies. We can hold back 1% of all of that for administrative costs. So it is actually creating an additional mandate, essentially, that as far as how we deal with those funds.
So 80% of that, I think we're qualified for over $2 million. Are we saying that we cannot allocate that to, let's say, our quest to pay for our teacher salaries?
Not for existing teacher salaries, that is correct. Additional guidance will be coming out. We expect that to maybe come out around the governor's budget proposal or in the next few months before the June adoption of the budget. So that is not taken into consideration in our projections this evening because it was not part of that common message and things to consider.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Director Medina?
Thank you. I wanted to find out, okay, in these projections, I wasn't clear. Like salaries and benefits, is it assuming any increases or is it just up to whatever's already in contracted?
we're currently settled with all of our employee groups, so it assumes our current salary schedules. There is no projections for any budgeted possible increases or anything like that. It's just what is current salaries. Is that your question?
Yeah, I think so. It's just up until the point that we're settled, nothing in the future. And the other question is, okay, so on the expenditures, for 2023, 24, and 2024, 25, all the red numbers, right? I think you said we're cool as long as, I heard the 5 million number, and as long as we make those adjustments, but I'm assuming we got to remake these 12 plus almost $13 million of adjustments in 2023, 24 first, right? So I'm assuming that's cuts, and then on top of those cuts, it's another 7-8 million. So in total, about $25 million in cuts in order to be stable. Is that correct?
The assumptions, so those are assumed included in the multi-year projection. The other adjustments was the fiscal stabilization P1 from prior year that was approved, and then we have some discretionary grants that are included in the 22-23 budget that we would utilize, or otherwise those would be future unidentified fiscal stabilization measures otherwise.
And just the final question, in terms of the COLA numbers that we use, I think the 538 and the 4.02, do we always use that same source? I think it was SSC, or
Wait for the blue light.
So, okay, so every year we have to, at this time, every year we have to make assumptions. So the organizations that we use to make assumptions are School Services California, Sonoma County Office of Education, and the budget committee that all the California County Office of Educations create. Those three entities all use the same COLA that we're projecting. However, every November, the Legislative Analyst's Office comes out with a fiscal outlook report that shows a higher COLA of a few percent, and we would love to see that. That would be very beneficial for school funding. We do not use those in our assumptions. It does say in the report that the LOA issues under the LOA recommendations for education, they suggest actually reducing the COLA below the 8.73%. What actually happens, we will have no idea until the January 10th governor's budget is released.
So the answer is yes, we always use the same sources, which is those three groups that you said, and they all had the same numbers. They all use the same numbers.
Yes, that is correct, that they are all using the same numbers for the first interim projections. And then the same thing will happen when it's time for the budget proposal in January, and the same in May. You will get some different opinions on what will actually be enacted or what will actually happen, but the guidance is usually very close, maybe within, typically less than 0.5% difference if there's a difference.
Director Sheffield.
Just a quick follow-up question. This is more for clarification. The three entities it's pretty standard. It's what other districts use. It's pretty much what is across the board. We all use the same metrics. We all use the same benches. We all use the same measurements so that we're all sort of on the same page. Otherwise, there's no other way to project, especially in that first interim. Yes. Okay, good. That's all.
All California school districts use the same information. Those four entities, three of them are for the purpose of first interims, for school district first interims. The third one, the Legislative Analyst's Office, is for the legislature, and it is a strong indicator. I mean, it is, but because SCO is our fiscal advisor, we kind of tend to lean towards what they suggest as well,
Thank you.
and that's what we're in line to.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Okay, we will move to public comment. I don't see any blue cards here. Do we have any public comment online?
If there are members of the public joining us on Zoom and would like to comment on item E3, that is the first interim, please raise your hand at this time. President Manieri, there are no hands raised.
Okay, thank you. Bringing it back to the board for any further questions, discussion, or a motion. This is an action item. Director Flores. Director Flores moves to approve. Do we have a second? Director De La Cruz, thank you. Roll call vote.
Director Flores,
Aye.
Director De La Cruz. Director Fung. Director McNally. Director Medina.
Aye.
Director Sheffield.
Aye.
President Manieri.
Aye, thank you, and that passes. Thank you, Lisa and Joel, for your work. We'll see you in a few months.
Thank you very much.
So we're moving on to item E4. This is also an action item, CSBA delegate nomination. The board will make their nomination for the California School Boards Association Delegate Assembly. Again, this is an action item. So at this moment, we will open this up for nominations. Before we take any nominations, however, just a little bit of context and background. The CSBA Delegate Assembly requires nominations and appointments for the 2022-24 term. CSBA's Delegate Assembly is part of the association's governance structure. I believe Director Flores has been serving as our delegate. No? No, I thought you were. You were nominated, but you were not elected locally. Well, thank you for putting yourself in that seat. Working with local districts, county offices of education, the board of directors, and the executive committee, delegates ensure that the association reflects the interests of school districts and county offices of education throughout California. Members of the delegate assembly are elected or appointed by local board members in 21 geographic regions throughout the state. There are 2 meetings each year, one in May and one immediately preceding the association's annual education conference. Nomination, appointment, and biographical sketch forms for CSBA's delegate assembly are being accepted until Friday, January 7th, 2023. It is the responsibility of the nominee to confirm that all nomination materials have been received by the CSBA Executive Office by the due date. Late submissions cannot be accepted. Ballots will be sent to each member within the region or subregion by February 1st, 2023. Delegates will serve 2-year terms beginning April 1st, 2023. So at this moment, is there anyone who is interested in this nomination? No. Who are we pointing at?
I'd like to nominate Trustee Sheffield for this. Thank you.
But thank you for the nomination.
You don't have to know.
We don't.
We
have to
don't.
know.
Okay, well, if there is no interest, we do not have to nominate anyone this evening. This is an action item, so how do we proceed? We just do. Okay,
But public comment.
but we will still take public comment. Thank you.
There are members of the public joining us on Zoom and would like to comment on item E4, CSBA delegate nomination. Please raise your hand at this time. President Manieri, there are no hands raised.
Okay. Then we will move on to item E5. public board meetings via teleconference per AB 361. This is an action item. The board will consider the continuance of conducting public meetings virtually, including the use of a hybrid model as allowed in Assembly Bill 361. Superintendent Trinnell, any words on this item?
Thank you, President Manieri. We bring this back at each of our meetings to ensure that we stay in compliance with having this option every 30 days. And with that, I'm going to hand it right back to you.
Move to consider the continuance of conducting public meetings.
Okay, so moved by Director De La Cruz and seconded by Director Fong. We just have to take public comment really quick. Thank you.
There are members of the public who would like to comment on item E5. This is the public board meeting via teleconference. Please raise your hand at this time. President Sheffield, President Manieri, there are no hands raised.
Great. Thank you. Any any discussion from the board? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Director De La Cruz.
Aye.
Director Fong. Director McNally.
Aye.
Director Flores. Director Medina.
Aye.
Director Sheffield.
Aye.
President Manieri.
Aye. Thank you, and that passes. We will now move on to our consent items. Do we want to see if there's anyone on Zoom who'd like to give public comment on any of our F items?
If there are members of the public joining us on Zoom and would like to comment on the F items, those are consent items, please raise your hand at this time. There are no hands raised.
Okay, thank you. So we're looking for a motion on the approval of consent items 2 through 14.
I'd like to move to approve consent items 2 through 14.
Okay, thank you. Moved by Director De La Cruz and seconded by Director Sheffield. Roll call vote, please.
Director De La Cruz.
Aye.
Director Sheffield.
Aye.
Director Fong. Director McNally.
Aye.
Director Flores.
Aye.
Director Medina.
Aye.
President Manieri.
Aye. Thank you. And just want to bring everyone's attention before we adjourn to, oh, I'm sorry, we have to do approval of minutes, our G items. So we need a motion to approve G1, approval of minutes of the regular board meeting held on November 9th, 2022.
Approve the minutes of the regular board meeting held on November 9th, 2022.
Okay, motion by Director De La Cruz and seconded by Director Flores. Roll call vote, please.
Director De La Cruz.
Aye.
Director Flores. Director Fong. Director McNally. Director Medina.
Aye.
Director Sheffield.
Aye.
President Manieri.
Aye, thank you. And now G2, approval of minutes of the special board meeting held on November 16th, 2022.
I'd like to move to approve the minutes of the special.
Second.
Motion by Director De La Cruz and seconded by Director Flores. Roll call vote, please.
Director De La Cruz.
Aye.
Director Flores. Director Fong. Director McNally.
Aye.
Director Medina.
Aye.
Director Sheffield.
Aye.
President Manieri.
Aye, thank you. And now we're moving on to board member requests for information. Are there any board member requests this evening? Director Flores?
I didn't want to pull any of the F items, but this is a request that I have in terms of the, now I have to find it, the contracts. I think we had agreed that we were going to have data in those as to the results, you know, from if we're going to renew a contract, and I'm still not seeing that data of the efficacy of the programs. So if we can do a better job of making sure that when we renew contracts that information is included, just to see how to see the efficacy of those programs. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Flores. Are there any other requests? Great. So moving on to our information items listed in the agenda packet, we have our future board discussion items, board conduct and code of ethics, educational acronyms and abbreviations, individualized graduation plan 3.0, and our school site reports from James Monroe Elementary School and Maria Carrillo High School. Before we adjourn, Superintendent Tranel, any last announcements?
Thank you, President Manieri. Thank you for everyone who joined us this evening in person and online. Again, we wish everyone a safe, healthy, and happy winter break and look forward to seeing all of our students and staff back for school on January 4th. And I hope everybody in the auditorium can go somewhere and get warm. Sorry about the lack of heat. Thank you.
Superintendent. And with that, we adjourn tonight's meeting. Happy holidays.
Thank you, team, for being here, doing this.
I know the folks back there must be so cool.